clips.
And remember, citizens, always subscribe. Hit the notification bell as well. And $19.95 plus shipping and handling will keep you out of hell. Alrighty, boob tubes. One of Chip's clips. And I think I've got the meagy. I've got the cold or the flu or something, man. Hopefully it'll pass. Good morning. Welcome to your daily dose of daily PoliTITS. If you like politics but are sick of the tits, then tune in for your daily politics fix. Political satire, comedy entertainment show for chavs and neds alike. Morning, Doberman, how you doing? So very simple format. Look at as many talking holes, news talking holes from around the English speaking world, and compare notes. See what they are and are not telling us to think about today. Anywho, let me just do that. So we'll be looking at the Reuters, TASS, BBC, Sky News, France 24, RT, Al Jazeera. If I can get it all working in time. Press TV, depending on how the dead body count goes, whether I can stomach it or not. The German Wave, Fox News, or a variant of it online. ABC America, ABC Australia, something I don't know is CNA, that's out of Singapore, and then some opinion talking holes from the UK. So that's the general idea. So let's
I was being very stalled.
See where to start. Well, we know what the British press is going to be offering up to us, so let's do a wee bit at Al Jazeera. See what the scores and the doors are when it comes to Gaza today.
From the 3 countries,
I've got a sneaky suspicion there's going to be some more deaths.
Communities in Barney.
It's law story we want to channel one moment
I don't know why. Of course, there's a poll. Today's poll is, will the Conservatives as a party survive this general election? It almost seems like they're deliberately trying to commit suicide, or there's people within the apparatus of the party
the Israeli military
trying to kill them,
attacks across central Gaza,
and that would be people that are
targets. At least 15 Palestinians have been killed since.
Yeah, I was right, man. Humana. Ask the bookies here. Can you take price on there being dead Palestinians in the morning? They were like, nah.
Al Jazeera live from Doha. Also coming up, 8 months of Israel's war has destroyed the Palestinian economy and increased
either the Conservatives or party are dead, or they're going to have to reform, and Nigel Farage looks to be heading up the run for opposition in 5 years' time.
Sudan's army chief promises a harsh response after 100 people are killed in an attack in Al Jazeera state that's been blamed on the paramilitary rapid support forces.
Alright, Doberman.
We begin in Gaza, where the Israeli military has been unrelenting in its attacks targeting refugee camps. Tens of thousands of forcibly displaced Palestinians are sheltering in those camps in the centre of the Strip. Israeli airstrikes have intensified on the Barij, Nuseirat and Maghazi camps. Strikes across central Gaza have killed at least 15 Palestinians in just the past few hours. And overnight into Friday, at least 5 people were killed by an Israeli strike in the Nuseirat camp. The mayor of the camp and 2 members of his family were among the victims. Well, on Thursday, the Israeli military bombed a United Nations school in Al Nusrat refugee camp, killing at least 40 Palestinians. The UN says 6,000 displaced people were sheltering inside the building when it was hit without warning. Tarek Abu Azum reports from Deir al-Balah in central Gaza.
The aftermath of an Israeli strike on a UN-run school sheltering thousands of displaced Palestinians in central Gaza. Dozens of people have been reported killed from the bombardment in a Nusayrat camp, and
dozens.
many more are injured. A residential home was also hit.
I woke up to the
And here's
screams
wee
of
Betty
women
for
and
down the
saw
street.
torn body parts. One woman lost
Oh,
2
lovely.
or 3 children. People have lost everyone.
I hope you haven't had your breakfast.
On the floor. Casualties and victims are children, women, elderly people. Al-Aqsa Hospital is the
There's wee Bob for down the street.
The UN institutions. Israel violated all international laws, crossed all the red lines. For 76 years...
Okay, so we get the flavour what they're leading with. Sky News, going to be the shoe shack thing, innit? There we go.
Bad reflection on the Conservative Party.
It is an absolutely extraordinary dereliction of duty from the Prime Minister to abandon the D-Day
there
veterans.
is no
You know,
DVR
my
with Sky today,
grandfather
look.
was a Royal Engineer. Served at
Scottish.
D-Day.
Told
Helped
you
to
we rule
deliver
the
the
world.
Mulberry Harbours that meant that D-Day was a success. The Prime Minister, in choosing
All right,
to leave
DJ.
that commemoration
Good
early,
morning.
it has ill-served his memory and the memory of so many others.
That's the
Imagine
SNP
losing
now.
it.
Opposition parties,
Imagine using
of
this
course,
for
will be
such a political
criticising the Prime
football,
Minister
man.
because
It's a
that is their
fucking
job. But also,
giraffe,
the Labour
innit?
Party have been saying quite similar things this morning. Matthew Pennycook, he was on the programme with you, and he was also saying how he felt it was disrespectful to veterans that the Prime Minister left early.
Well, I'm glad he's apologised, because it is absolutely a mistake. And it's not just the fact that the Prime Minister left those D-Day commemoration services. Perhaps the last commemoration services for
he's
many of
got
the
a strong
veterans who
jaw, hasn't he?
attended. I mean, bear that in
He's
mind.
chiselled at a
But the
grand.
reason why he left those services, he left, let's be clear, to come back and pre-record an interview where he doubled down on a proven lie about the Labour Party's intentions.
A
if it
proven
forms
lie.
The next government.
Oh, I wish I could pause that right, but that was
The
me.
Lib Dems also
What I've
criticising
noticed
on Twitter, and Sarah Davey very
is-
clear with his views.
This is why I
Interestingly,
say
we were
there
speaking in the
appears to
first hour
be.
before the apology about whether there
This
was
is
a
why I'm
lack of
suggesting I don't
political
think there's a
nous
possibility
from
the
Prime Minister.
Conservative Party won't be around
And
after this
my
general
question then
election.
was not that Labour
There
was
seems to
trying
be elements
criticise
within
this
its
because Starmer
own
didn't stay for
institution
political reasons. He
structure
stayed,
that are trying to
just
bring
'cause
it down.
He wanted to.
Whoever advised
But
him to do
now
that.
it does just feel right
That
on
was
the
like a
opposite
stab in the
side of
back.
things, that politically, even
And
though
now
perhaps
what
with
I've
his apologies
noticed
acknowledging he should
is
have been there on
all
principle, but politically he
the
should have been there
right
too,
of centre
and it
press
does show once
textures
again
say
a lack of
are
clear
now
political nous.
kicking
Yeah,
the
it
dead
really
dog
does.
when
I mean,
it's
him
down.
and the team around
Shoe
him.
shack.
So many people are waking up this
And you're
morning
like,
asking
right,
the
so
question,
I mean,
why
before
was
Nigel
a pre-recorded
Farage
television-
entered
pre-recorded
into
television
the
interview
race,
that was due to go out 6
the
days
right
later
of centre
more
press
important than
was
staying for the
kind of
rest
still
that
trying
D-Day,
to, as much as they could,
commemoration.
put a
And therefore,
positive-ish kind of
it's about
slant
the
on Shoe Shack, and
demonstration
if they
of
couldn't do
priority,
that, they were
and it
trying to put the
looks
boot
like that was more
into
of a priority
melted
than
welly
the
boot
D-Day
face.
commemorations. Also,
But now
this
they're going
morning,
to for the
sources
jugular
are
with Shoe
suggesting to
Shack.
Sky News there are
and
suggestions
that can only
the
do
Prime Minister
badge
actually originally didn't want
good,
to go
and
at all,
in a
and
poll,
they ended up going for half of the day.
the Reform Party,
And
one
if that is
poll,
the
a
case,
couple
that
polls, I
would be
think.
fascinating on another level, because that would have
The
been
Reform
an
Party
even
were coming in a
potentially
couple
more
of percentage
painful
points
political,
underneath the
kind of,
Conservatives.
kind of almost repercussions.
And I've only been
if
together
that
for like, what,
happened.
two days?
And also, as you say
I know
about
it's a wee
political
bit longer,
choices,
but you get
but
my
politics is about
drift.
optics. And he left Joe Biden, he left Emmanuel Macron, Olaf Scholz, all these global ally leaders behind for the photo ops without him, and Keir Starmer was still there when Sunak had left with Zelensky, with that lovely photo of them talking together, and you don't necessarily want to plant that image in people's minds when you're trying to win an election, where Keir Starmer is looking quite prime ministerial with Zelensky rather than yourself.
Just quickly on the
or
suggestion about...
Do you know what?
So yeah,
this is just too...
So sources are suggesting to Sky
too
News
delicious
that,
to believe.
the Prime Minister was considering not going at all. Now, sources close to the Prime Minister say that's absolutely incorrect. It's not true whatsoever. But nonetheless, the fact that this has been spoken about suggests potentially there was some
women in toilets arguing over more important things than this. I really have. Are they trying to create some sort of a drama and theatre around
Rob, tell us where you are. Tell us what the Conservatives had planned today, which no doubt will be somewhat overshadowed now.
As Bowie sang.
Yeah, morning, Wilf. We're actually in a service station somewhere in South at the moment, on the way to a campaigning visit. Rishi Sunak's got a few in the diary around the southwest for today. They are wanting to talk about changes to how child benefits
he's on the bus, he means business.
To households earning
the
above
Wenger
£60,000.
bus, the business
I
bus.
think you're right. Clearly, today I think is going to be dominated by this row over the D-Day commemoration events yesterday and the apology that the Prime Minister issued earlier this morning. In terms of what the thinking is, I think, in the Tory camp, I think it's one of these strategic decisions where they have decided that rather than try to let this rumble on over a number of days and for the Prime Minister to face questions and interviews and Q&As about whether he wants to apologise and
even
why
she makes him look small.
They feel it better to actually get in there early, to make that sort of full fat apology early on, in the hope that while yes, you will have a day of quite negative stories and the campaign messages being somewhat derailed and overshadowed, hopefully after that it will sort of recede into the background. Look, we'll wait to see whether that actually does happen. I think I can see the end of the
having a wee look at the poll there. I can definitely see there being a chance that the Conservatives will disband at the end of this election, or Reform will kind of take them over, if you get me.
Sometimes the ability to make political decisions like
this seems to be the pushback from the known fraction that was in the Conservative Party for some time. Let's call it your Rees Moggs, and then on the other side you've got like your David Camerons or Susaks. You know,
but the fact is
the Conservatives weren't right leaning enough for a lot of their members.
Also leaves Keir Starmer in France, mingling with world leaders, looking a good deal more prime ministerial. So a big own goal. We should hear from the Prime Minister directly a little bit later today.
Or was it?
Well, Pal, we look forward to that and your coverage in and around it. Let's go now to Serena Barker.
I can see
Northwest London, not in fact on a
the
battle
Conservatives
bus,
going into what you call
Serena,
self-destruct. Is that the right
Labour
way
will be wanting to focus on this today.
I can really see them starting to just self-destruct. And I'm going to argue it's not by accident, because they've got like a
President Zelensky
what would you call
filling
it?
that vacuum
A
when the
lifeboat
wasn't there does make him look
in the way of the Reform Party. We are like, you know, that's where Rees Mogg will be going when he loses his seat at the general election. You know,
D-Day's
has he not already lost his seat or something?
Serve in the country and choosing to prioritise his own vanity, TV appearances over veterans. Rishi Sunak has shown what's most important to him. So
see them hitting this
on
home.
the attack, leaning into this, it will make them
it looks like she's sitting there reading a message from home.
What they actually want
you don't just redo it around. Oh, it's hit off the wire. Oh, it's wee Betty saying this. No, that's a message collectively picked because of what it says to get inside your head, and they're kicking the shit out of Sunak. And this is Comcast, Sky News.
The state acting as a guarantor
certainly
for prospective homeowners who struggle to
right of centre in the world of politics.
Come in and help
they
those.
say the
now,
least.
Some research from Zoopla early on says is sceptical about how many people this will actually affect. They say by their estimation population. It's only about 5% of first-time buyers because it works in lower value housing markets better. But Keir Starmer will be here on site making the case for that, trying to be the party of home ownership. But yes, very buoyed by the Prime Minister apologising in his own words, the first essentially self-proclaimed gaffe in this campaign.
Serena, great stuff. Thanks so much for that, Serena Barker Singh. By the way, if you scan the QR code coming up on your screen right now,
it's a
you
fucking
can listen
storm in a
to the
teacup
latest
created by
episode
the
of Politics
press.
at Jack and Sam, where they do analyse the significance of the Prime Minister coming home.
And of course, they
from
pulled some
D-Day
veterans out.
It's now a daily
Plugged
podcast
with their
throughout the election
heartstrings and boom
campaign. Scan the
shakalaka,
QR
there you have
code
the little
to
propaganda piece.
subscribe. But time for all of the day's
But
top
it's
stories out there. Scotland for us.
Thank you, Wilfred. Sky News understands that
Thanks,
Keir Starmer
Wilfred.
is expected to announce Labour's support for a Palestinian state in the party's election
Ooh,
manifesto.
that'll be a wee vote
Labour will
winner.
say a Palestinian state
Vote
should
winner.
be recognised as part of a peace process and not vetoed by other states in the region. Now, the manifesto will be signed off later today by party officials and unions before
Meaningless.
its official launch.
Meaningless. Manifesto, you might as well just promise gold
A
bars.
woman who claims to be the inspiration for the stalker character in the Netflix series Baby Reindeer
And let's
is
not
suing the
forget,
streaming
Starmer
platform for
was one of the
£133 million.
orchestrators
Harvey
of that
has
farce
accused
in
Netflix of
Parliament
ruining
which
her
stopped
life and
a
telling
permanent
personal lies.
ceasefire vote
Harvey
going in from the
identified himself
SNP.
as the inspiration for Martha Scott, but denies being convicted
Sabotaged
of
it.
any crime in the UK. Well, we have a statement for you.
And he
from Netflix.
purged the
They
Labour
told Sky
Party at
News, "We intend
anybody
to
that
defend
gave a
this matter
crap about
vigorously
Palestinians
and
dressed
to
up in the
stand by
anti-Semitic
Richard
shite."
Gadd's right to sell his story. Now, it's the billion-dollar tour.
Netflix
Fans here
on
have
the
been
news.
waiting for more than a year to see
Talking
Taylor
about
Swift kicks off her
gossip shit.
UK leg of her record-breaking Eras tour tonight
I'm still not
in
watched that
Edinburgh.
piece
Let's
of
go
shit.
live now to our arts and entertainment correspondent, Katie Spencer. Katie, fans already turning up very early for this concert, but what can we expect today?
Taylor Swift.
About 220,000 people are coming here.
I don't know. If I switched on entertainment today, yeah.
Live from London, this is BBC News. Rishi Sunak apologises for leaving D-Day commemorations early, saying it was a mistake not to stay longer. The BBC hosts its first election debate tonight, featuring representatives from our 7 biggest political parties.
Will Vaj be there?
In other news, the search for broadcaster Michael Mosley resumes
Reaching
after
in
he
for
went
that.
missing while on holiday in Greece.
Welcome to the Eras Tour.
And Swifties are in a
fucking
frenzy as
Swifties, man. Really? I used to. Pretty sure Alex Jones thinks culture a
Hello, I'm
Satanist or
Geeta
something, I'm
Gurumurthy.
sure.
Welcome to our coverage here on BBC News. Now, Rishi Sunak has apologised for his early departure from D-Day commemorations in France,
what's
following
happened to
criticism of
Alex
his
Jones?
decision to return to the UK to campaign. In the last hour, Mr Sunak
Has there
said
been
on reflection
an
it was a
update?
mistake not to stay in France longer and I apologise. Mr Sunak
6
spoke
hours
at the
ago.
event but delegated other duties to ministers, including Foreign
Oh,
Secretary
dear.
David Cameron. Well, in other main developments, representatives of the 7 biggest parties in
hence,
the
but,
UK will take part in a special 90-minute election debate on the BBC tonight.
Right, I want to get to that, but I want to see if Vaj is going to show up. I'm filling my coffee up. But anyway, Alex Jones agrees to liquidate his assets to pay Sandy Hook families in move that would end his ownership of InfoWars, but you can just call it Info Warriors. You know, you can just set up shop tomorrow, call it Info Warriors. I mean, Alex Jones literally could have a smartphone and command a God knows how many thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions worth of audience. Imagine he did get a smartphone, just started doing his broadcasts from his smartphone or from his basement or something again, along those lines. It would still go down the store and people would love it. So, well, but you could hear in his voice, he was pissed there. He was pissed off the other night. I was going to say, is he doing this deliberately? It's kind of like filing for bankruptcy, you know, it allows you to draw a line under it and rebuild. Right-wing conspiracy theorist Alex Jones liquidated his assets, agreeing to demands from the families who he owes 1.5 billion. Fucking hell, man, I didn't even know it was that much. The systemic move enriched himself to the tune of millions of dollars. Prior to Thursday, Jones had resisted converting his personal bankruptcy into a Chapter 7 liquidation, but facing mounting legal pressure. I'm trying to read this. The legal manoeuvre ultimately means Jones' ownership in free speech systems is going to get sold. Avi Moschenberg, an attorney who represents some of the families, told CNN, referring the parent company of InfoWars, converting the case to a Chapter 7 will hasten the end of these bankruptcies and facilitate the liquidation of Jones' assets, which is the same reason we have moved to convert his company's case to Chapter 7. Another attorney representing the families told CNN, Jones technically has not controlled InfoWars for some time, given the free speech systems has also filed for bankruptcy protection. The company's business has thus been under the supervision of a court-appointed restructuring officer. Hearing is scheduled for next Friday. Would that be today? No, next Friday, because I think this came out today or earlier on. With regards, sets the stage for a court-appointed trustee to liquidate Jones's personal assets, which includes his stake in InfoWars. Oh, fuck. Does not mean that InfoWars will cease to exist. Several outcomes are possible. Is anybody going to bid for InfoWars? That'd be funny. Do you think CNN should buy it? Interesting. I'm glad I've done that though. But now let's see what's
But I'll face questions from the audience. The parties have all made new policy pledges. The Conservatives have said they'll raise the child benefit tax threshold to £120,000 and charge it to households rather than individuals. Labour has said that if it wins power, it would make permanent a scheme that ensures low deposit mortgages are available for first-time buyers. And Liberal Democrats have offered what they call a dad month of paid leave for new fathers and a doubling of statutory maternity pay. Well, let us first of all speak to some of our correspondents on the campaign trails. Tom Simons is in Swindon with the Conservative campaign. And Tom, this apology from the Prime Minister, it is unusual to say the least to get that, especially in an election campaign.
Well, look, senior election watchers are calling this a disaster for the Conservatives, and it did look like a mistake for Rishi Sunak to pull out early from that D-Day commemoration, a major historical event, rubbing shoulders with Joe Biden and Volodymyr Zelensky and Emmanuel Macron, and also Nigel Farage there, reform coming up in the polls potentially, to come back to the UK to do an interview for ITV in which he was immediately put under pressure and defending himself against accusations that he lied over the amount of money Labour would have to raise to pay for its spending commitments. And it didn't take too long before this apology came from Rishi Sunak. He said this anniversary, the D-Day anniversary, should have been about those who made the ultimate sacrifice for our country. The last thing I want is for those commemorations to be overshadowed by politics.
Thing about this whole election,
it was a mistake not to stay in France longer, and I apologise. But you can be sure that during today's campaigning, which has got up to speed again after the break for the D-Day commemorations, that he will be asked about this a lot. He's due at 2 places today, a school in southern England and a school in the west of England and a nursery in southern England.
Is he on the
where
bus?
The Conservatives were hoping
He
to
is,
be
isn't he?
talking about the offer they are giving to parents on child benefit refunds, and
There's a
that
bonanza
I think, will be
on
overshadowed
tour
by,
buses in
by the
election
D-Day
time,
issue.
man.
And we are already seeing some reaction from Conservatives supporting commentators, Tom, including one suggestion even that the French government was told a week ago that Rishi Sunak wasn't even going to attend the commemorations in the first place. We haven't been able to confirm that yet, but what is your sense of the wider reaction and the mood on the campaign trail team?
Well, I think there's a couple of points to make. Whether due to attack at all. Certainly,
we have a
the
problem.
Conservatives have said that he was due to attend the G7 next week, at which he would have been seen very much in that top table of world leaders, and therefore, you know, the political implication of not being seen at D-Day was not that great. That was before the apology that Rishi Sunak has made. But also, I think it's worth pointing out that being close to important to the Conservative Party. One of the early manifesto pledges it has made
Dodgy
in this
connection
campaign
on the
was to
dodgy bus connection.
And so I think
she
it's
was
clearly
about to
a
kick
miss
him off there.
to have to now apologise for coming back from, you know, a very historic commemoration, an anniversary of a major event in British history.
Okay, Tom Simons,
Michael
thanks very
Farage
much.
was
And
also
sorry about the breakup on that line to everyone trying to hear you, Tom. We got most of the gist of what you were trying to say. Just let me show you now what Nigel Farage has tweeted in the last hour. He says, I was honoured to help raise £100,000 for the taxi charity to send veterans back to Normandy. It was a pleasure to meet them at the various events. Rishi Sunak could not even be bothered to attend the international event above Omaha Beach. Who really believes in our people, him or me?
Over
Jessica
Sunak.
Parker is following the Labour campaign today. Jess, we just saw what Mr Farage has tweeted in response to Rishi Sunak's apology. What is the Labour response to the Prime Minister's apology?
I'm going to have to go and
yes, so
read some comments, but I think somebody said that
critical response from the Labour Party
there
following
may still
yesterday's
be
events and Rishi Sunak's decision
kind of mechanism
to leave
or
those
chance that
commemorations
Farage
early.
could
What we've been
replace
hearing from
Sunak
Labour's
come
shadow
general
paymaster,
election.
General Jonathan Ashworth, he's been saying that the PM chose to prioritise his own vanity TV appearances over our veterans. That's, of course, a reference to the interview the Prime Minister did with ITV News last night.
Remember, that's her just reading the top ones off the
yet
list.
more desperation, chaos and dreadful judgment.
Chaos.
Stop
the chaos. Stop the chaos. 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 Do you think it's a? Do you think it's a there's no way it's a coincidence that what's his melted welly boots face Starmer has come. Stop the chaos. 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 And then the BBC's like, oh, I've just got a text message straight hot off the press. Wee Margaret down the street. Oh, hello there, Margaret. Oh, what chaos. I think I'm fucking buttoned up the back, BBC.
I'm following, and perhaps we'll hear from the leader, Keir Starmer.
Joke. That sounds stupid
we'll see a political
and unaware
here
these motherfuckers think people are. We won't be able to hear them all saying the same shit repetitively, almost as if they're trying to propagate messages by relentlessly saying them. Rangers are the best, 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 Rangers are better than Celtic, Rangers are better than Celtic, Rangers are better than Celtic. Easily done.
As well, patriotism
There's my propaganda
being
for the
one
day.
of them, and I think the Labour Party, amongst others, will be keen to try and paint this not just as a poor judgment by Rishi Sunak politically, but a values-based one as well. Now, of course, I think the Conservatives are going to say, look, the Prime Minister has quickly recognised his mistake. and he has apologised. But of course, he's not really just being criticised by
It's such
opposition
chaos.
either. There is also
We need to build. We need some change. We need to build.
About
Stop the chaos.
events, and
We need to build something and change something.
Headlines this morning in
Stop
terms of
what
that
chaos. I'm no sure.
trail
Sunak just created some so we could stop that.
Speaking,
Build what? I'm not really sure.
Against,
Well, shutdowners are shut
Andrew
down,
Rainer,
so
we've
maybe we
obviously
could
7
replace it
people
with
on
one.
the
Say that
debate
they've built
tonight.
something.
Presumably
And change
the
something.
apology
Well,
is designed in part
a few
to try and
dudes' dicks
close
off.
it down so that the
Jobs are
candidates
Gucci.
can talk about, you know, other issues that they're all trying to put before the public.
Yeah, I think certainly there is probably an attempt by the Conservatives and by Mr Sunak coming out with this apology, which is unusual, as you were saying, to see something like that, to try and draw a line under it, say, as I mentioned, that they recognise a mistake was made. To what extent it comes up in tonight's debate
Randomness should damn and
is hard to
100%
say at the moment. I'd be
Rangers
surprised
are
if
the
it
most
doesn't come up
successful team in football.
in some form or other, because I say it's something that other parties can use as a bit of an attack line against the
I
Conservatives.
agree.
But of course, it isn't Mr Sunak who will be there tonight. And look, it's a 7-way debate, as you say, over 90 minutes. Having watched the debate between Keir Starmer and Rishi Sunak earlier this week, you can imagine it might be quite a fast-paced thing where they'll get through a lot of issues, could even potentially be messy at times. But of course, I mean, I don't want to preempt exactly what's going to be talked about, the format and how it's going to go, but it'll be certainly an interesting one to watch.
OK, Jess Parker for now. Thanks very much indeed. Well, of course, as we've been saying, attention will be focused later on that debate, which involves representatives of 7 parties. Here's Leila Nathi.
The stage is set. 7 senior politicians
just
from
gonna
7
be there,
parties
aren't they?
are preparing to meet
This
here
is
tonight.
going to be good, man.
For an hour and a half, they'll face questions from audience members and those sent in by voters across the country. Their policies, their performances in the spotlight. The leader of the Commons, Penny Mordaunt, will represent the Conservatives. For Labour, it's Deputy Leader Angela Rayner.
Yes,
Rosie
I'm
Cooper,
definitely
Liberal
watching.
Democrat Deputy Leader, will make her party's case, as will Stephen Flynn for the SNP. Green
It's
Party
Flynn, I'm
co-leader
trying to
Carla
remember
Denyer
his name,
will
like
appear
him, man.
alongside Plaid Cymru's leader Reen ap Iorwerth, and Nigel Farage will take part after becoming leader of Reform UK.
Yes!
Meanwhile, the 2 main parties are still
Honestly,
putting out
best thing in
policies
telly.
ahead
It
of their
won't be the best
manifesto
thing on
launches.
telly, right?
Labour says if it wins power, it will make permanent an existing government scheme designed to ensure first-time buyers can access low deposit mortgages, through the state acting as a guarantor for part of the loan. The Conservatives have put forward plans to allow high earners to keep more of their child benefit. The party says if it continues to govern, the threshold at which parents start to lose child benefit through a tax charge will double to £120,000. And it's committed to a previously announced proposal to assess claimants as a household rather than an individual. Plenty still to be digested and scrutinised as political parties continue to vie for votes. Leila Nathi, BBC News.
Well, our correspondent Hannah Miller is outside BBC
That
HQ
will
for us. And Hannah, obviously the
genuinely be
parties will have
interesting.
been prepping for tonight's debate, obviously all wanting to get their messages out. We're seeing policy announcements, of course, all the time. And yet, you know, within the last hour, we've had this apology from the Prime Minister. How difficult is it going to be within this format of 7 people for any clear message to be put across to the public?
I think that is a really good point to some extent in the sense that we often see during these debates sound bites, kind of moments of leaders or deputy leaders, representatives trying to kind of outdo each other for social media, and the sense of which, whether or not they're successful in kind of getting points across, some of them often manage to do that far better than others. I think this row about Rishi Sunak leaving the D-Day commemorations early yesterday is something that I would certainly expect
He's going to get the
someone
whole
like
ripped
Nigel
right out
Farage,
on him,
representing Reform
Everything.
UK, to be talking about. He's already tweeting saying this is sort of him or me, as in Rishi Sunak or Nigel Farage, and making a great play of this in that sense. If you're one of these politicians, I would point to the Liberal Democrats as well, who are particularly trying to take a different type of voter from the Conservative Party. They've described this morning as a dereliction of duty. by the Prime Minister. If you're one of those parties who really sees taking votes from the Conservatives as a big part of your election strategy, then you're going to want to keep going with this story that he has had to apologise for this morning. The Labour Party, of course, as well, of course, being very strong on it and suggesting or pointing out that Keir Starmer stayed longer than Rishi Sunak. The issue of national security is one that the Prime Minister has really tried to campaign on quite significantly. I think, though, during the debate, of course, the questions will come from audience members. There will be a variety of topics. This is something that politicians might try to get in. I don't know the questions in advance. I haven't seen them. The politicians won't have seen them. Whether there's something around defence or these types of issues, we shall see. But there will almost certainly be questions about other issues that are hugely important to voters as well. Things like the NHS, things like the cost of living. So to some extent, this is an issue that you would expect parties to try to kind of get in and get their clips and their social media moments out there. But I would also expect there to be a much broader variety of topics and of views on display at the debate this evening, because by having 7 representatives from the different parties, there is a much broader display of policy platforms than we previously saw in the debate just between Rishi Sunak and Keir Starmer earlier in the week.
Really?
And Hannah, just on the Prime Minister's apology, you'll have seen reports that I don't think we've been able to
I'm going
check
to
or
lower
verify,
the price of cheese.
that you know, was he even
the cheese
going to be
makers.
the commemorations at all in the first place? The suggestion that he was possibly planning not to attend and then decided to attend for a brief time. And given the Conservatives are now worried about, some of their voters going to Reform and Nigel Farage, on the question of patriotism, many Conservatives will feel vulnerable, won't they?
One for the Patriots.
Yeah, I was actually just checking my emails as you said that, because I personally contacted the Conservative Party about that report that Rishi Sunak had said that he wasn't going to attend at all. I contacted them by phone about half an hour ago, was told to email, told them that we would be talking about it very shortly, and asked if they wanted to sort of push back on that, suggest it was wrong, offer any guidance, and haven't heard anything back at this stage. So we'll have to see how they respond to that. As I say, we don't have that stood up ourselves, but it's something that we have tried to put to the Conservative Party. Particularly this kind of issue of national security and the kind of international context to this election, whether it's the war in Gaza, the war in Ukraine, worries about China, is something that leaders both from Labour and
Gaza, Ukraine,
Conservatives
China.
have been trying to kind of talk about and put themselves
a sprinkle
out there.
Africa,
Rishi
but
Sunak
that's
claiming that people know what he
everything that's
stands
happening in
for in
Africa,
terms
you
of
could
keeping the
argue
country
is
safe.
to do with the
The
first
Labour Party trying to kind of rid itself of previous issues that it's had around that issue and trying to say, look, Keir Starmer's the man to do this. I think this mistake.
What issue is that?
Rishi Sunak
There was people that
kind of
actually
further
supported the
advances Keir
Palestinians.
Starmer's case in that sense, because he didn't make this misjudgment, this mistake. He did prioritise.
God forbid you actually genuinely have a different spectrum of points of view.
Farage, of course, as well,
and the
from
two
Reform
leaders of the
knows
two
that
different
this
parties
is
who are meant to
a key
represent
area for many
different
of his voters. I think there are
sections of the
MPs
country.
who will be really quite worried
Fuck
about
that.
what this does to their own vote in their own constituencies when people see how this has played out.
Yeah, we've seen all the images, haven't we, of European and the US leaders, but not with Rishi Sunak, but with David Cameron instead. We will see what further emerges, but for now, thank you, Hannah. Well, throughout the day, we are going to be looking ahead to that TV debate that is later on this evening. What are people expecting
else is
from
there
it?
to
Our
tell
reporter
us?
Priya Rai is out in Watford today, and we can join her now. Priya, have you managed to get a sense of what people are expecting from it, if they're going to be watching?
Yes, well, absolutely. I mean, hello, welcome to Watford. It's kind of just waking up at the moment. We've had some people kind of picking up a coffee before heading to college or work. But having had a few chats with people here, to set the scene, as a commuter town that you can access from London, it's some of that kind of diversity, that kind of bustling community that's driving some of the issues on people's minds here, both in terms of what they want to see improved in the local area and what they love about Watford. So I'm kind of in the centre of town, as you can see. The high street here has got a whole range of businesses, and that's one of the things that people today so far have told me that they love about Watford. The other thing is the diversity of the community that people say between different groups and between different ages. People all enjoy talking to one another, which one lady said to me kind of felt like a rarity, but one of the things that she's loved as somebody who's lived here for 40 years. It's a really interesting constituency as well if we think about the types of things that people might face in local elections, as I mentioned, to live.
Now, more officers are today joining a large search and rescue operation on the Greek island of Symi for the doctor and television presenter Michael Mosley, who's gone missing
hope they find this guy, you know.
His wife raised the alarm
See if he
after
wasn't a
failed to
TV
return from
presenter.
a hike on Wednesday lunchtime. Simon Jones reports.
How many people go missing in hikes?
In the scorching Greek sunshine, the searches
I don't know, actually,
both
but
on land and from the air, trying to find out what has happened to Michael Mosley. This picture, along with an appeal for information, was posted on a local Facebook group. Greek police say Michael Mosley was with his wife on St Nicholas Beach on Wednesday lunchtime when he decided to go for a walk. A sighting was reported at Pedi. He then failed to return. He didn't have his phone with him.
What can science tell us about getting a better night's sleep?
Some people think of sleep as a luxury.
Michael Mosley, who's 67, has been on our TV screens for more than 2 decades, talking about health and science.
Apparently this is the easiest and most reliable way to find out.
A presenter known for getting stuck in.
I've got this list of the things that I'm allowed on my new diet.
He would often focus on diet and exercise. He's a regular on The One Show. Last night's programme opened with the presenters sharing the feelings of many viewers.
Lots of us are concerned to hear that our friend Michael Mosley has gone missing whilst on holiday in Greece. And our thoughts are very much with his wife Claire and the rest of his family at this worrying time. We hope for more positive news.
And his disappearance is the front page story on the Daily Mail, where he's a columnist. The search is proving to be challenging, covering rugged terrain. The police, firefighters, a sniffer dog and volunteers are involved.
Well, let's hope they find them.
Well, our correspondent Joe Inwood is on the neighbouring island of...
What more is there to say, really? Guy's missing, they're searching for him.
Assault. I was talking to her law walking.
Netflix
and in that
shows are not...
Finally here and...
This is where the fans are queuing to make taking a turn for the big
pop concerts are not news.
Down to the front.
I threw
Cameraman
taking part. Stay with us. This is BBC News.
What, are you sure it's not entertainment?
Morning,
oh,
we're
it's
joined
Joe
by
Rogan.
BBC News. We're on 5 Live as well, and we want to hear what you think about a major political story because it's
what the hell's happening?
Well, his political opponents are making great hay.
Why you're in a TV studio, mate? Why don't you just have one of those wee lapel mics?
Yesterday, the Prime Minister attended the British ceremony in about 2 days. Imagine, she said, thank you.
And I do know that goes out on the radio as well, but the same rules apply, you know.
Not interested, didn't need to apologise. One little doddering old really
screen calls.
We're voting for him. I don't agree with a lot of his policy.
Is that what they're going to do for the next bit? Why is that?
Oh, definitely. I think if it had been Starmer, if he was Prime Minister, I think that the right-wing media would have really come for him. I think there would have been
BBC
even more
doing
consequences.
that. Oh, no, who knows? Alice Jones said to liquefy.
This young man would have thought that he would play the photographer one day. So this is the beauty about life sometimes.
It's entertainment today as well. Oof.
The Palestinians have been appealing to the whole world with no response. UN resolution.
Right, so I think that was it 30 or something dead last night? Right, I want to see if we can go back 40 minutes. Let's see if that doesn't work.
CAR. Of them in military. Next year there will be an
faced with the prospect of a war with NATO.
assembly seat in the election. And as surprising as this announcement is to many people, it turns out that the concept of a government of national unity is not new to South Africa. The first democratic era government between 1994 and 1999 featured a government of this nature, which included the National Party at the time and the Inkatha Freedom Party, which is known as the IFP. But that was a different era, as everyone says. It remains to be seen whether it will work at this time. And at this point, some might even say that the waiting has finally come to an end. But details of the proposed deal are still unclear, and it will be discussed in negotiations with other political parties in the coming days, because a new parliament needs to meet in less than 2 weeks, and one of its first and very crucial task is to elect a president to form a new government.
I wish the UK election was more like that.
Right, RT correspondent Nolavuyo Kunge, thank you. Well, meanwhile, a member of South Africa's opposition MK party has been
actually
shot dead in the country's northeast. Local police say the killing was not politically motivated, but rather a robbery. We spoke with the party's spokesperson, who shared his thoughts on his party's media portrayal and why he thinks the ANC lost its popularity.
We have been losing members on a daily basis, and this is very, very concerning, in a sense that what is even more concerning is that, you know, the media and certain parts of our civil society want to paint Mkhonto Sizwe as a violent party, you know, when we are the ones who are enduring violence and being murdered. I asked the Minister of Police, I said, why are you sending police to KwaZulu-Natal and increasing the contingency when you know very well that there is not, as far as our assessment and the
fact
information
that Russia is reporting on it is interesting, and I don't know if you've noticed, and I don't know if it's just because there's an election cycle, an election going on. The UK press, I don't think have even touched on it that much.
And ANC, MK,
whereas
as the official opposition,
I think Al Jazeera and RT have been all over the top here.
Continue demonstrates.
Now, where 40 people have been killed and dozens more wounded in an IDF strike on a UN school, according to Palestinian authorities.
Good morning.
The UN's communications director for Palestine refugees said the attack came without any warning.
Another attack on an UNRWA school in the middle areas in Gaza, where 6,000 people who were displaced were taking shelter. And this is becoming more frequent. We have recorded that more than 180 UNRWA buildings and facilities have been hit since this war began on the 7th of October last year. So UNRWA has not received a prior warning from the Israeli forces that they were going to hit the school. Neither did those families who were displaced and sheltering in that school. There was no warning received before the attack. These claims that the Israeli forces have put forward are quite shocking. However, we do not have any ability at UNRWA to verify these claims. And what we keep calling for, and we keep reminding parties to the conflict in Gaza, is that they should not use the UN facilities for military or fighting purposes.
Well, thousands had been sheltering inside the school from IDF attacks. 14 children and 9 women were reportedly killed in the Israeli strike.
It still doesn't look like Eden's going to get sorted
few remaining
anytime
hospitals,
soon.
Al-Aqsa, where medics are fighting to save their lives. The IDF has confirmed the attack, claiming the UNRWA school hosted a Hamas militant compound. The director of Gaza's media office says Israel is lying.
The occupation uses false, fabricated stories to justify the brutal crime it conducted against dozens of displaced people.
Well, it's not the first time Israel has attacked UNRWA's facilities in Gaza. There have reportedly been over 400 occasions in which the organization's premises have been struck during the war, with many sites attacked multiple times. Now, in those strikes, at least 450 people have been killed, according to local officials. The UNRWA communications director once again says there's no safe zone in Gaza.
Working with Hamas and all that jazz.
This has been a very brutal war
sure.
where the include United Nations violence. So this is why
Some more dead
what no
bodies.
child anywhere in the world should witness. They are children. Zones that.
Yeah, and like people sitting at home should witness it as well.
Several weeks ago, this is the second incident in less than 2 weeks where we've seen a pretty large civilian toll on what was supposed to be a precision strike.
It is a difficult situation if it is true that you have this site where Hamas is hiding inside a school, other militants are hiding inside a school. Those individuals are legitimate targets, but at the same time, they're embedded near civilians. Israel has a right to try and target those civilians, but they also have the obligation to minimize civilian harm and take every step possible to minimize civilian harm.
We are looking here at a situation in which a genocide has been taking place for nearly 9 months, where over 36,000 people have been confirmed dead. Vast majority of them, per the admission of the U.S. government itself, are women and children, where over 10,000 people are missing under the rubble, where Palestinians cannot or are not allowed to actually find them and give them proper burial, where tens of thousands are wounded or maimed, where a population is being starved. So for Mr. Miller or Sullivan or Matthews or
that's what you call a full-scale invasion.
Come after all of this.
Full-scale, full-spectrum
play this
warfare,
silly
man.
game about, well, you know, we cannot really speak about any particular story unless we see evidence. What evidence? We have already been seeing this evidence for 9 months. Nusayrat itself, which, by the way, is my refugee camp in Gaza, and that is my school in Gaza, in the Nusayrat refugee camp, has been a site of numerous such massacres. The bakeries massacres, the residential towers massacres, the central market massacre, even as if they are
Need to come up with, need to invent a new alphabet with all the massacres. Right.
You believe that? That's a scene from Ukraine, one that's repeated more and more, with people being just
Americans
taken
are just
off
too
the streets
plastic, aren't they?
and forced to go into the army
well,
by
maybe
agents. I'm Rick
for me
Sanchez.
there,
Get ready
some people
for
love
direct
them.
impact.
Well, thank you very much, my man. Oh, check that Tash out. It's Miami Vice right up.
Now, let's look
You'll
at
be a
politics
podcaster.
in the UK. An unprecedented number of parliamentary candidates on the pro-Palestine platform are gearing up for the upcoming general election. One such prospective MP is Adil Shireen of the Workers' Party of Britain, who is contesting a constituency
George
in
Galloway's
Greater
mob, innit?
Manchester against pro-Zionist rival Jonathan Reynolds, who is also the opposition Labour Party's shadow business secretary. We asked Adil why he was vying for a seat in Westminster.
And I've been outraged by the hypocrisy and the double standards that we've seen unfold in British politics, and the mask has truly come off when you see how Labour and Conservatives
He's seen a chance to grab a wee bit of power, man, why not?
policy.
Right, let's see if we can get to the top of our
kind
news
of
49 minutes
how
ago.
much
But
they are blind
Stevie
to the
R
atrocities that Israel commit, and they're both
is
international law.
shocking.
But I'm also standing.
Might be alright, I don't know. Is that Iran, Azerbaijan, Iran, China? I think that's Iran telling us how great they are. Yep. According to the Iran's constitution, we are the greatest. Oh, is that going to be the top of our news? Oh, fucking digging dead bodies. Freaking straight away, man, straight off the bat. So that would be I'm coming across the Med, you know, Africa, Morocco, Libya. I think that's what they said a lot of it. Ramstein, Germany. Alright, so they're just swinging a dick over on the old over in Germany.
Tonight on Expose.
No, that wasn't the top of our news, but it was a wee bit of something different anyway.
A new survey by Pew Research.
Right. God knows how these
and achievements impose poverty.
That is taking place in the Gaza Strip. Students at a number of prominent Italian university campuses have set up encampments in solidarity with Palestinians and in protest against Israel's brutal attacks on Gaza. At Rome's University of La Sapienza, students underlined that the actions aim to press the university to stop cooperation with Israel and the Italian government to halt arms exports to Tel Aviv.
The academic boycott is important because universities should be placed on the front line against oppression and discrimination.
I don't know, Doberman. I would love to, man, but I don't think I've got the money.
Which for years has been carrying out a genocide against the Palestinians, is intolerable for us, as it would amount to supporting Israel's policy of violence and war.
In April, over 2,000 Italian academics from various Italian universities signed an open letter that reminded the Italian institutions of the obligation to prevent and not to be complicit in acts of genocide according to the 1948 UN Convention. Max Civilli, Press TV, Rome.
امروز اتفاق مهمی در تاریخ
right into the top of our news.
Naval attacks against ships violating a ban on approaching ports in occupied Palestine. Ships were targeted in Red and Arabian seas with missiles and drones.
See, that's been off the Western press's news cycle as well, isn't it? They've completely just like Syria, when things aren't going the way they would like, off the news cycle.
Yemen's naval and aerial forces executed fresh operations in cooperation with the Iraqi resistance, targeting 3 ships.
Oh, he's my favourite guy.
In support of the Palestinian people and in response to the American-British two joint military operations with Iraq's Islamic resistance.
Fucking business,
the first
man,
targeted
tell you.
2 ships carrying military equipments in port of Haifa. The second operation targeted another ship that violated the ban issued by Yemen on the entry of vessels to ports in occupied
Really
Palestine.
need some better
The
PR.
2 operations were carried out with a number of UAVs, and the strikes, with God's help, were accurate.
The Yemeni army also released footage of launching the new
See, if it wasn't for God,
ballistic missile that targeted the city of Eilat in the southern
is it
part
with everybody
of
having to rely on?
We know that the entire West,
What's the point? If it's all down to God, why don't you just launch a rock, God will pick it up, make it bigger, and throw it at your enemy? Why spend all that money and technology and stuff if it's all down to God?
Insist on continuing to supply the Israeli entity despite the high risks.
Recently, the Greek frigate Hydra left the Red Sea after a 3-month deployment as part of the European Union's mission Aspidus. The communication equipment from Hydra is set to be transferred to another Greek frigate named Psara, which will replace Hydra in the Red Sea. The Yemeni army says as long as the shipping companies worldwide continue supplying Israel, they will remain legitimate targets. The army has vowed to continue its operations until Israel ends its genocidal war and the blockade on the Gaza Strip. Reporting for Press TV, Abdulatif Al-Washali, Sana.
So there's a wee ditty that you wouldn't get elsewhere.
And in our explainer program, we take a closer look at the election process in Iran and try to provide
It's
more
no
details
surprise though,
about
that's like,
candidates
you
who
could
are
say
running
it's
to
another
succeed
front,
late
but it's
President
definitely
Ibrahim
another
Raisi.
hot zone in the war. That's for sure.
Iran's presidential election, which should be called a snap presidential election, has just gone through the registration process. This election is not like other ones in Iran, since it was a result of the sudden passing away of martyr Ibrahim Raisi.
That's right.
Now, whoever is picked
Forget about that, don't you? That the Iranian helicopter just fell out the sky. How quick you are to forget, man.
Well, let's take a look at the timeline of the whole process that you see over here. The registration is now over. The Guardian Council vetting the candidates on June 22. The list of qualified candidates will be announced. Then one day later, the ad campaign begins until voting day on June 28th, as you see there. Then, if there's a need for a second round, that will take place on July 5th. So that's kind
no way, man. Same time as the UK election,
kind
of.
Well, here's another snapshot. We'll do it slower. Candidates is the starting point that you see there. They go through the registration. Once registration is over, the names go to the Interior Ministry that you see here, and then they go to the Guardian Council. It takes 5 days for the vetting process to take place. The list gets sent back to the Interior Ministry, and in a matter of maximum 2 days that you see there, the final list of candidates
know more
gets announced.
About how they select the candidates in Iran than I do over here. Do you need to go through some sort of vetting process over here? I know you need to register, but can they turn around and say, nah, we've vetted you and you're suitable? Because that's what they basically just said there, you know, you're allowed to, we have an election, but it's only with the people we say that you can vote for. Sounds about like almost every democracy scam out there, doesn't it?
Familiar with that you see here, of course, Mahmoud Ahmadinejad is a familiar
I remember dinner jacket.
Also, to say the least, the acting president or incumbent Mohammad Mokhber. Now, I mentioned that name because in the run-up to the registration process, he decided not to register, and that caught some by surprise. These are the results of the late presidential elections, martyr Ibrahim Raisi, which happened back in 2021. Of note here are two of the candidates and their percentage of votes garnered. That's important, and I'm talking about.
So they have the supreme leader. I'm trying to figure out the structure of the Iranian regime. They have the supreme leader, and then a president, don't they? And then
Now, at the end of the 5-day registration period that has occurred now, you have 80 presidential hopefuls. And based on the breakdown that we see there,
4
it's
women.
Something that the Guardian Council has to vet through. They include conservatives, moderates, reformists, and also 4 women are in that list. Now, some of the high-profile names need to be mentioned. The former Parliament Speaker, Ali Larijani, Tehran Mayor, Ali Reza Zaghani, the former Chief Nuclear Negotiator, Saeed Jalili.
Mahmoud dinner jacket.
You have the former President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad and the former Governor of the Central Bank Abdel Nasser Hemati. And you also have Mehrdad
the best presenter in the world at all, is he?
Urban Development, and Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf, the current Speaker of Parliament, in no particular order, by the way. Well, the Guardian Council's 12-strong body of jurists appointed or approved by Iran's leader has until June 11 to decide which of the candidates will be authorized to campaign. So there you have the deadline. Now take a look at the 2021 elections. The council only approved 7 out of the martyr rights breakdown.
Bye-bye for now.
I was trying to just figure out the sort of wee bit of the internal structure of how they do it in Iran. How they scam their people into thinking that they've got some sort of a choice. Yes, oil stuff. And dead bodies. Press TV's the best at that. African stuff. Oh, it's South Africa because they're on the genocide ticket in the courts, the international courts. Documentary about it, no doubts. There's the BRICS. Some could say that was the start of the economic part of World War III. Right, I think that's about as much as we're going to get out of the Germans.
Zelensky has told the French Parliament that Europe is no longer a continent of peace.
Oh, brilliant.
And the
Thank
United
you,
Nations
Zelensky.
condemns an Israeli attack on a UN school in Gaza in which dozens are killed.
It's because of the
Israel
war
says it was targeting
in your
Hamas
country.
fighters.
Started, funded, propagated by the America and the West, the EU, the West in general.
I'm Biresh Banerjee. Welcome.
Nicola,
Emmanuel Macron says France will provide Ukraine with French-made fighter jets.
Victoria Nugent
The French
was in
president
there.
says the planes will arrive by the end of the
Biden's
year.
son was over
the
there.
Mirage 2000 fighter jet entered service in the late 1990s and was considered one of the best combat aircraft of that era. France will also start training Ukrainian pilots as part of the plans.
Good stuff.
Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is
Remember,
in Paris
we're
right
not
now
at war
and
with
will hold
Russia,
talks
y'all.
with Macron at the Elysee Palace later today. In
We're
the
just
last few
training
moments,
people to bomb
Zelensky
them.
addressed the French Parliament. He is visiting France as part of the D-Day 80th anniversary events. In his address, he told French lawmakers, Europe was
Nuns
no
Flower,
longer
how you
a
doing, my
continent
man?
of peace. Let's get more from DW. Sonia Falnikar joining me now from Paris. Sonia, what else did Zelensky have to say to lawmakers?
Miserable day here.
Well, President Zelensky got a standing ovation here in the
Tune in tomorrow
French
if I can get a hold
Parliament
about Will. I've
today.
spoke to him, man.
He
If
started
he's
by
free, we
thanking
might do a wee
France
thing
in
tomorrow
French
during the day.
for its support for Ukraine. And
If
he
he's
touched on some
fancy
of the themes that were kind of echoed in Normandy yesterday at the 80th anniversary of the D-Day landings. Zelensky drew a parallel between the horrors of World War II and the bombardment of the Ukrainian population, the blockade that is in place. He said this battle for Ukraine has the same existential value for Europe. He described Russia as a common enemy. And he said that this battle is really a crossroads for Europe.
Remember, we're
He said we
not
can
at
either
war
defend
with
freedom
Russia.
or become
We're
victims
just their
of
enemy.
and we saw President Zelensky also
Oh,
touching
wow.
on President Macron's pledge to now provide a combat Mirage aircraft to Ukraine and train pilots in France by the end of the year. He thanked Macron for that and basically said, this shows that Europe is
Thanks for
strong
the new
and
toys.
united by our common values. So I think it was a very emotive speech today
common
in the
enemy.
Assemblée Nationale.
You know, about those pledges, Macron has recently pushed for more support for Ukraine, sometimes ruffling feathers within NATO and the EU. Is President Macron aware of the risks?
Well, of course not. He wears a
I
suit
think
and
that
stays
question,
in
Paresh, is being
Paris.
asked by a lot of people who would love to know what the
What
president
risks
is
is
really
there
thinking.
to
But I
him?
think it's fair to say that Macron has really gone
Sweet
from dove to hawk on the
Fanny
Ukraine-Russia
Adams.
conflict. He's come a very long way from this early conciliatory approach to Russia in the early stages of the war. In recent months, he's really upped the kind of rhetoric against Russia. He's advocated a kind of no limits approach to countering President Putin. And you're right, along the way, he has ruffled a lot of feathers with suggestions that Western troops, French troops, could go to Ukraine. The suggestion that military trainers could also head to Ukraine as part of a possible European coalition. And I think Macron's hard line on Moscow has been criticized by some here in France who say, he's just extracting political mileage from this. Some have accused him of kind of hypocrisy and grandstanding. But I think Macron's hard line on Moscow comes with a warning to Europe that, Europe needs to take responsibility for its own security. It needs to move away from the US security umbrella. And I think Macron is styling himself here as really a disruptor, trying to get Europeans to think hard about their security.
Back to President Zelensky. What else is on his itinerary in France today?
Wants to be a disruptor. Seems like a commie
Well,
to
President
me.
Zelensky is expected to, basically expanding defense cooperation with France is basically high up on the agenda today. And as part of that,
The army is
President
coming.
Zelensky, we're hearing,
Gentlemen.
will visit a site of the Franco-German arms company and tank maker KNDS, which has its headquarters near Paris. Now, this defense group makes artillery guns that are used in Ukraine. And this follows an announcement in France where the French defense minister in March, Sébastien Lecornu, said that French arms manufacturers will now be producing much-needed military equipment on Ukrainian soil. That includes things in drone and land equipment, but also
We're
spare
not at
parts.
war with Russia. We're just building factories armies in Ukraine to fucking build artillery to fucking whack the shit out their country.
The United Nations has condemned an Israeli attack on a UN-run school in central Gaza.
How long can the
It says
facade that
airstrike
we're
killed
not
at least
war
35
go
people
on?
and wounded many more. The Israeli military said it carried
Something's
out
going
a
to
strike
happen and then
targeting
it's just
Hamas
going to be
fighters
like
involved in the October 7th
be-
terror attacks. Calls
You'll
are
not be able to
growing
do
for an
anything other than
investigation
admit that we're
into
at
the incident.
full-scale fucking war, man.
Around 6,000 Palestinians from all over Gaza were sheltering in this former school, an UNRWA facility in Nuseirat, when it was targeted by an Israeli airstrike.
Why? What have we done for them to bomb us? We fled from place to place. No
You're
UNRWA
there,
school
mate.
is safe.
That's it.
No
They're-
tent
they're-
is safe. There is no safe place.
They're clearly, they clearly think everybody.
The remains of people were scattered.
There's me, Margaret, down the street. They're clearly, I think even there was reports that came out very early on that they had orders to just basically, like, you can make it up as you go along. Treat everybody, what's the word? Enemy combatant. Everybody is a possible enemy combatant. And it seems to be that they're doing that. And it doesn't matter if Hamas is embedding themselves in the civilians, they're just still blowing the fucking shit out it. And there's no doubt that Hamas or whatever's left of them on the ground and in the tunnels are hiding amongst the civilians. But then, as soon as you start bombing the civilians, they then become a fighter, which then technically is Hamas. And it's one big mental cycle. Oh, hold on.
We targeted with precision strikes on the specific classroom.
I can tell he fucking grew up in a desert, do you know what I mean? It doesn't sound like he fell out an English public school.
On the specific classrooms. What we know, of course we know.
What? Yes, I come from the desert, you know. What? You came from the desert, yes. We all speak like this in the desert. What? Is that no laughable? The amount of talk holes for fucking Israel and they can't get a talking one amongst them.
That the terrorists were what they were doing inside a UN school. They were hiding.
Do you think that makes it sound better?
The compound was used for staging attacks and as a forward operating base.
The United Nations has condemned the attack on its shelter in Gaza and accused Israel of breaking international humanitarian law.
Willing to bomb civilians for a military fucking purpose.
Is in Jerusalem.
That's what it boils down to, and it looks like Israel are. Or the IDF, to be more precise.
Well, Barash, this is the latest in a growing number of attacks carried out by Israel in Gaza that has been condemned by the international community. Now, as you heard in that report, Israel maintains that it carried out this attack with intelligence evidence to suggest that somewhere between 20 and 30 Hamas operatives were using the school as a command centre where they were planning further attacks on IDF targets and that an attack was imminent, the IDF said. Daniel Hagari, the spokesman for the IDF, said last night that they were working to verify further information before they made it public, but they've so far offered no evidence.
You're like my posh impersonation.
No evidence of their evidence.
That's no impersonation, that's my real voice. This is this Glaswegian shit that I'm putting on, man. That's my fake accent.
Around 40 people we're hearing were killed in this attack, including some women and children.
It's obviously
in
been
other attacks that have been condemned so widely. There has, on a number of occasions,
talking
been
ill
a
of their
call
cult
for,
leader.
as you heard in that report, a call for an independent
And
investigation. But at this
that's
stage,
such a fake
Israel
accent.
hasn't said that it's going to carry out an independent
You can hear
investigation. It
what
says
was
that
it?
it has the evidence and that it will be providing further details in the future.
We'll leave it there for the moment.
that's a
DW's
spot.
Rebecca Ritters reporting from Jerusalem. Thanks so much for that. A quick look now at some other stories making news around the world. At least 8 people have died in a bridge collapse in Bolivia. Another 6 have been injured. Local authorities are investigating what caused the collapse. They say there were no known cracks or damage in the structure. The bridge was built 13 years ago.
what the fuck it is.
2 NASA astronauts have been welcomed aboard the International Space Station after Boeing's Starliner capsule successfully docked on its second attempt. It overcame some technical hiccups during the first try. This marks a major milestone for Starliner's first piloted test flight, as it competes
See, remember
with
that's when the
SpaceX
conspiracy
to ferry
world
astronauts
was
to
about
and
big
from
poop,
the space station.
fake moon landings, moon bases, things
Donald
on
Trump's
Mars,
former top aide
all
Steve
that
Bannon
kind
has been
of
ordered to
bewilderment and
report to
stuff.
prison
And
by
then
the
all
1st
of a sudden
July.
it turned
He must
into
serve a 4-month sentence for
a
contempt
drinking
of
club for
Congress.
hating Muslims.
Bannon defied a summons from the committee investigating the January 6th attacks on the U.S. Capitol.
Oh man, that stuff that Danny
The
Cuomo
EU
and his
elections
crew,
are
man, I'm
underway,
like,
and over the next 3
wow,
days, around
you don't even
370
get
million
people in
across
the churches.
27
The
EU
time that
states
I've went to
will
church and all
elect
that back in the
members
day,
of the European
I've
Parliament.
never
The Netherlands
experienced
kicked
people
off
like
the
that
first day of
and
voting, and
churches
this
talking
Friday,
like that.
the Czech Republic and Ireland
Yes,
are
brother.
casting ballots.
Yes, how
Migration
cult-like
and the
is
asylum
that
system are
to
leading
call
issues for the
strangers
first
that you're
time in
talking to
Ireland,
over the
where many
internet,
candidates
brother
are
and
running
sister,
on an
all because you believe in...
anti-immigration platform. Preliminary
You
polling
listen to the same
forecasts that
podcast,
right-leaning
you believe the
parties will
same
win
book,
more seats
you support the
EU-wide
same football
in this
team,
round of
and it's all
elections.
fucking,
An exit
yeah
poll from the
man,
Netherlands
it's
put
like
the
brother
far-right
talk
Freedom
and all,
Party in second place,
it's cultish,
just behind the Social Democratic Green
crazy.
Alliance.
And then as soon as you get into that mentality, you can't question
Staying with
the
Europe, we
dear
now
leader.
take a look at a piece of music
Like
that's
Alex
played an
Jones.
important role
Oh,
across
update
the
everybody.
continent. Beethoven's Ode to Joy.
Oh, good. Hopefully we'll hear a wee bit of that. Alex Jones agrees to liquidate his assets to pay Sandy Hook's family, a move that will end his ownership of InfoWars. So a lot it's like legal gobbledygook that's hard to get your head round, but I think ultimately what you can say is InfoWars might not cease to exist, but he won't own it. He has to hand it over to a court-appointed dude who's going to either sell it, manage it, yada yada yada. They're not really sure yet. It's still I think they're up in court next Friday for further stuff. Oh my god, that's dead concerning. I got a big massive, I think it's a fucking heat spot or something. Anyway, so that's your Alex Jones update. Now, where the fuck was I? The Germans.
From his 9th Symphony in D minor has been the EU's official anthem since 1985.
Beethoven's 9th Symphony still touches people. At the Fête de l'Europe in
I'm
Dresden,
pretty sure
French
that's
President
in
Emmanuel
Clockwork
Macron
Orange.
made an impassioned plea in favor of
Pretty
Europe.
sure.
And one of the most moving moments was the Ode to Joy. A piece of music that the Council of Europe took on as
Is
an
there
anthem
like
in
a wee bit of
1972.
long wood? Easy for
European
me to
leaders
say.
adopted it in 1985 as the official anthem of the European Union, then still the European Economic Community, saying that the Ode
Yep,
to Joy
that's how
symbolized the values that everyone
that's how they
shares,
started that.
the unity in
Let's do
diversity.
business.
But
Next
why
thing you know,
Beethoven's
well, we've
ninth?
got an army. Let's go and invade Ukraine. Right, let's go and
Beethoven is associated with the
do
European
military shit in
personality,
Ukraine.
and his work was something that goes beyond a purely national perspective.
Although the Ode to Joy is often performed with
Is
its
that
original
not, like,
German
pure,
text,
like, one
the
of the
European
most, like-
anthem is a wordless version, so no one
I
language
mean, like,
is
see if
favored.
you were to play a computer game and you were like designing a
Beethoven's
fascist
Symphony
regime
No.
or
9 in
you
D
were, like,
minor
creating an
premiered
empire or
200
something.
years
That's what
ago
you
in
would
Vienna.
technically say,
It's
fucking
become one of the most famous pieces of music in the world. The 9th Symphony has special meaning for a country at war, says Ukrainian conductor Oksana Linev, who considers herself a
all
citizen of
this
the
years and I
world.
never knew it was in D minor.
This is more than a symphony.
Do you know
It's
what?
become a concept in our
doesn't
culture
mean
as a
anything to
very
me,
clear
Flavor.
opposition to barbarism.
I'm not a music man, if you get me. Obviously, you seem like a music dude.
What might Ludwig van Beethoven himself have thought of his symphony being used as an anthem for a united Europe?
It was the end of the feudal era and the emancipatory bourgeois movement began, and he was definitely one of the founding fathers. In today's world, he would
right,
definitely be a committed European.
Beethoven shared the vision that all people should be brothers and sisters. The European anthem
Under
stands
the
for the
German
freedom,
flag.
peace, and solidarity of a united Europe.
He was 19th century, wasn't he? What you trying to tell? You try to tell me the Nobel Beethoven wanted a European Union? Is that what they just try to allude
and
to?
as part of the countdown, organisers have mounted 5 Olympic rings on the city's most famous landmark. The Eiffel Tower will be adorned with the iconic rings for the duration of the Summer Games, which take place from the 26th of July until the 11th of August. The rings, made of recycled French steel, will be displayed on the south side of the tower, overlooking the River Seine.
Made out of unicorns, recycled tampons to save the planet.
Of our top story at this hour, Emmanuel Macron says France will provide Ukraine with French-made fighter jets. The French president said the Mirage 2000 jets will arrive by the end of the year. He also promised French help in training Ukrainian pilots.
And making baguettes for the soldiers.
You're watching DW News. Coming up next, after the break, a look at D-Day and the huge cost of victory.
The huge cost of putting on that shindig. Let's have a wee look at this, then we'll go and do the French.
And who it was that was killed in the strike. I don't believe they've announced an official review yet, but if there are shown to be civilian deaths, as the reports from the ground appear to show, then we would fully expect them to review that consistent with their code of conduct.
Yeah. You've said repeatedly transparent, that you're looking for something for the Israelis to be transparent. I mean, the Israelis are basically saying that militants were killed in this. I mean, do you expect them to investigate beyond that, say whether children were killed, civilians were killed, and is there a track record of Israel actually investigating that on the ground?
So, two things. One, with respect to transparency, they have said that they will release the names of those who were killed. And
the militants,
that is what they have said, and we're going to watch and see what they do. If we think any further investigation is warranted after we see the results of what they announce first, we won't hesitate to call on that, as we have in the past. There are incidents that they have reviewed in the past, and as we've said, they have a number of incidents where they have conducted reviews, and those have led to criminal referrals, and they have full-blown criminal investigations. But there are also incidents, and those are not public, but there are other incidents where they have
big heat spot, man.
They have conducted reviews and announced the results publicly. So with the
a big massive thing.
for example, they announced the results of the review. They made clear what, from their perspective, had gone wrong and why that
thought it was my bonnet first.
And they announced disciplinary actions, including firing against a number of military officials.
Just to put a point in
It's
that, I mean, do you think
good.
are you basically
Going for a swim in a sauna and steam room and all that jazz when you get fucking a gremlin thrown off your
I don't know if they have any ability to do that.
It's alright, my hair will distract
We
them.
want to know exactly what happened, and we're willing to look at all sources of information to determine that.
And we'll continue to get you the updates always right here on Live Now from Fox. Stay right here with us. More to come in just moments on Live Now.
On Live Now. Maybe that's where Jim White gets his TV cadence from. You can't just talk on television like you normally would talk. Hi, I'm Jim White. Anyway, right. Oh. Let me do it up here. Ooh.
For the YouTuber behind this explosive video, the stunning scene, a Lamborghini racing against the desert as it's blasted by a barrage of fireworks, an apparent nod to video games like Grand Theft Auto. But now the director of the stunt, Alex Choi, is facing serious jail time after he was arrested for putting explosives on an aircraft.
Putting explosives on an aircraft is extremely dangerous. Every time you go through TSA at an airport, you're not supposed to bring anything that can cause a fire.
Investigators say the video was originally shot in Southern California last year, and the crew did not have a permit for the stunt. Fireworks are banned in California. If convicted, Choi could face up to 10 years in prison.
What a pile of shite. So nobody died, nobody blew up or anything. It's just you should have fucking had a permit, you prick.
Not supposed to be used.
Choi will face a judge soon, and the helicopter pilot got their license
That's a daft bastard.
The Celtics came out blazing in Game 1 of the NBA Finals. They rolled to a 29-point lead over the Mavericks in the first half. The Mavericks did pull to within 8 in the third quarter before Boston left them in the dust.
Oh, I just realised that will be fucking copyrighted up the fucking shitter. Right, was the Australian stuff.
Exactly what I keep trying to point out, that this is an attempt to distract from what's going on in Gaza, and it is awful continuation of a genocide. These 23 women and children, each of them has individual lives. They love each other. They've lost, and now their lives have been snuffed out because the international community, including Australia, has catastrophically failed to do anything to help to put pressure on Israel to stop taking these actions. Let's be clear about this. This is a state of Israel which has been found by the ICJ to be plausibly carrying out a genocide in Gaza, and it has not received a single sanction from the Australian government. The Australian government does engage in two-way arms trade with Israel. It does, even on the admission of the government. Even their claim is that the weapons that were exported to Israel were then exported back to Australia. But that's two-way arms trade. That is money going to Israeli weapons companies. Companies that are manufacturing weapons. By the way, Elbit Systems, the $917 million contract reported to the ABC, signed by the Australian Defence and a defence contract. Elbit Systems manufactured the drones that Israel used to murder the Australian aid worker, Zomi Franken. Now, why on earth would we not cancel that contract?
We are getting short on time. There's just a couple of things I wanted to just get your opinion on. What did you make yesterday of the decision by the new corruption commission?
We met the other day and he's telling us the lurgy, the meagy, whatever. The cold is going around his neck of the woods.
Was a disgraceful action by the coalition government. We should be doing everything we can to investigate it to the nth degree to make sure there's justice for the victims of that disgraceful scandal. And I should note that even under the current welfare system in Australia, the one overseen by this government, it continues to destroy people's lives by forcing them to live on poverty payments. And they're still, by the way, pursuing debts.
Up when you've got the cold and all that.
And I'm sure you've seen the vision, and there's been a fair bit of scrutiny of the media recently, including at Channel 9. What did you make of Peter Costello's encounter with a journalist from the Australian yesterday?
Well, look, I'll leave that to the commentariat to talk about.
That shows Peter.
Briefly saw it as I was getting on the plane last night.
I'm still
silly
the same,
spectacle
but
compared to the things that are going on in the world right now.
It's a really a lot
Max Chandler.
better on the old throat and whatnot.
Thanks for having me.
But I can.
Well, a world-first study into the use of precision medicine to treat cancer in children has yielded some extraordinary results, with more than half of the children who received the treatment achieving complete or partial remission.
The treatment involves tailoring a drug to each patient's
genes. Then I woke up this morning and started fucking going,
Professor Glenn Marshall from the Children's Cancer Institute is one of the leading clinicians and
he'll go to the gym or the boozer.
In the studio. Good morning, Professor.
Fucking hell, could have been anywhere.
How many children were
involved Mankey in
public. 400 or so. And they
Mankey Glaswegian public
going to die. There wasn't much of a prognosis for them.
Yes, so the cohort of people we're talking about are young children who
are going to die. Oh, this was interesting yesterday, man. And that just made me starving.
10 seconds to wait for somebody, and then I got in it myself. And then you go over to Zeker, and they have.
Come on. Work, God damn you.
来最高的程度。
I'll get the top of our nose.
Really?
Vaping.
Memories is core.
Your headlines this. Hello, I'm Yasmin Yonkers with your headlines this hour. The Indian capital is grappling with a water crisis. The country's Supreme Court has directed the state of Himachal Pradesh to release surplus water to Delhi to mitigate the situation. The capital has been battling with an intense heat wave and record-breaking temperatures. Rationing is in place, and the government has enforced a fine of some $20 on anyone found wasting water. The Philippines has accused Chinese coast guards of blocking efforts to evacuate a sick Filipino soldier stationed in the disputed South China Sea, describing their actions as barbaric and inhumane. The Philippine Coast Guard released a video today
big
of
monkeys
the
with
incident that
funny
took
hats
place
and
nearly 3 weeks ago.
women over their
China's
shoulders.
responded, saying it'll allow the Philippines to send vital supplies to its post on the Second Thomas Shoal if it gives advance notice. The UN chief, Antonio Guterres, has voiced deep concern over the worsening violence in Myanmar, and this is after reports that at least 50 people were killed by the military in a raid last week in Rakhine State. The raid targeted supporters of the Arakan Army, which is now one of the larger armed groups resisting military rule. Witness accounts detail acts of torture with reports of beatings and executions. Also ahead on
Just another day in
the
paradise.
CNA, it's East Asia tonight, and look, Wei Su is here to tell us what we can expect. Wei Su?
Well, thanks, Yasmin. Ahead on East Asia tonight, Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif meets Chinese President Xi Jinping as the two sides try to revive a $62 billion economic corridor project. The Philippines and China butt heads once again in the disputed waters of the South China Sea, with Manila accusing Beijing's Coast Guard of blocking efforts to evacuate a sick crew member. And strike action grips South Korean giant Samsung after negotiations failed to end the deadlock over wages. Don't miss East Asia tonight with me, Lok Wei Su, less than an hour from now, right here on CNA.
Sounds like fucking Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
Right now the smell is quite strong because the body has been more...
Kind of Spaceballs.
More than any other channel. Quality of your... I congratulate...
Money from it. Financial.
How they do their program.
Be able to monetize.
Seems very business and monetary oriented. I don't know if that's just what they like. Well, this is for English speaking world.
You guys make such a difference. Thank you for being there.
35 years. Understanding Asia. It's kind of West's voice in Asia, supposedly.
The world has become accustomed to these carrying the label, Made in China. But there are new categories of China-made goods dominating.
So, let's have a look. Oh. I think that's a hangover for yesterday. Nine minutes ago, so Israeli forces step up. Bombing of Rafah, tanks push west, so their ground invasion goes on. Is it going to be a full-scale invasion? Modi has to work with the other parties. The markets mid-war. Putin looks east. It's at the Congo, Zimbabwe, dude. So there's again Russia in Africa. Cut off from the West, Russia is pitching its 2 trillion economy giants like China and Saudi Arabia and long-term prospects like Zimbabwe and Afghanistan as its premier investment forum in St. Petersburg, which was founded by the Tsars as a window to Europe. Biden. So there's more military aid just out the fucking plucked out the magic money tree. Brilliant. US encourages China to attend peace summit on Ukraine. How can you have a peace summit when it's only one side? I know that's the Russian line, but it's although it's their meme, it's true. Migrants from around the world traverse California desert to reach US. They were talking about that yesterday. Biden on the border, what he's doing, he's putting in legislation, electric truck markets hit. Bumps in the road to green HGVs. So let's have a wee look what the TASS is saying. Russia vows immediate countermeasures should West take its assets. Let's have a wee list. Let's have a wee read of that. Petersburg. Moscow will not wait to retaliate, to the confiscation of its assets in the West. So that was my stupid head. With a slew of political and economic countermeasures in its holster. The Russian spokeshole said so. Again, it's tit for tat economic. Sanctions, counter-sanctions, yada yada. It's been going on for years now, isn't it? West, close to point of no return. Orban, who's Orban? They always lead with the quote without going. It could have been Homer Simpson that said that, you know. West close to point of no return. In Ukraine, Orban, who's that again? Oh, danger of a new... Oh, I thought it was going to say New World Order. A new world war is growing. The Hungarian PM, right, Orban. Remember Jim Dowson and Nick Griffin and other ex-BNP factions have Christian-only enclaves over there, and they're supplying militia with military military equipment, not guns and all that apparently, but military equipment and all that to stop all the Muslims roaming into Europe. So just a wee side note there. Powerful explosion. Seems to be a lot of power stations and all that exploding all over the gaff. US induces visa sanctions against dozens of Georgian citizens. That'll be the pro-Kremlin ones. US sends new package, AP. It's that military aid that Biden in France, Biden and the French dude were talking about. Russia managed to change quality of its economy by putting production first. Yeah, production into a fucking warship. Russian nuclear sub Kazan frigate to arrive in Cuba next week. Whoa, that's good. Not like a wee bit of echoes of the Cuban Missile Crisis crap. Schultz admits many Germans afraid of escalation in Ukraine. Of course, everybody's afraid of escalation in Ukraine. That's hardly oil demand to rise up to 115 mil barrels per day by 2030. Kiev needs total military mobilisation to do yes bidding. I think that's pretty much what they've more or less got. Certainly moving towards it. Biden says Washington not authorising strikes on Moscow. Well, that's nice. Here's some bombs and all that. Do what you want with them, but man, you know, hit Moscow, please. No, Bonnie, do that. Russian strikes wipe out Ukrainian naval drone depot. US carriers out second and third intercontinental ballistic missile training launch in 1 week. Russian GDP dynamics points to economic moving along projected trajectory and everything's going well. Press review, Israel, Hezbollah on warpath, and India criticises Russian less Swiss talks, right? So that's what's some of the top things that's coming out of there.
From unpleasant diarrhea to, unfortunately, sometimes much more complicated
it's the Scottish guy we ruled the world, E. coli outbreak in the UK.
Since the bacteria that cause the illness thrive in the gut and feces, people can also get sick from contact with infected animals or contaminated waterways. In March, rowers in the Oxford-Cambridge boat race were warned not to swim in the River Thames because of E. coli. It usually takes a few days from being infected for symptoms like diarrhoea, vomiting, stomach cramps and fever.
Alex Jones update, if anybody missed it. He's agreed to liquidise his assets. Infowars will still be there, but who owns it and who will lead it and who will be on it and all that is still up in the air. But he won't be able to have ownership of it. I think it's like... there's a parent company to Infowars, forget its name now, Freedom Radio or some crap. But let's just let Biden to make case for democracy. It's part of American heroism. Democracy. Check out what's happening in the American election. That ain't democracy. God knows where it is, but it doesn't seem to be democracy anyway, that's for sure. Black photographer added himself to places where history didn't want him. What the fuck kind of race baiting shite is that? Is that like a black man used Photoshop? Oh, well done, my man. Japan's government record. Oh, here we go.
People from Australia, from the Netherlands, someone from Chicago we talked to a little bit earlier, and I've managed to grab 2 ladies who are from Virginia as well. Look, you've got this is what you get if you get the VIP package, this beautiful sort of tour photo album, is it? Mallory and Kylie.
Yes, it has all her different eras on it.
How much did that cost you?
Oh, okay. So jealous with what you've got.
How much did it cost?
So these are some posters, and then in here it's a tote bag. And then these are smaller little like postcard posters. And then in here, this is our VIP like pass that we wear around our necks.
Rock and roll, motherfuckers.
I mean, we should praise your mum and dad because they...
Rock and roll, man, is dead.
Yes. A reward for
well, I don't think she pretends to be rock and roll. What would she say? She is pop or some shit?
Birthdays, Christmas, every holiday.
Yeah. You've had flights as well to get here.
It would have been more expensive for us to see her in the
US
DJ. Still. But
that is news. The Thames is full of shit. That would be because sewage runs into it. And do you know what sewage is? Some of it is shit. So if sewage runs into the Thames will be full of shit. And thus, if there's an E. coli breakout, I'm pretty sure your shit has E. coli. I think that's how it works. Don't quote me on that. I don't have a white coat, but I do. But
What you're most looking forward to? Is there certain songs or the album?
Oh, as long as they have a good time, man, and their mom and dad's paying for it. Oh, good. Right, let's see if we can... Sometimes
people here like to learn new things. They are also very tired of war. Now they want their country to grow and develop. Their desire for development should be harnessed by improving
Russia and Africa
between the countries.
How long have you lived here?
Since 2017.
You don't know whether to get on your bike or no.
How did you end up in the CAR?
I was selected, if you will, and sent with the initial reconnaissance mission.
Were you a student?
Right, where's the French? Turn a bit of the German. Have I lost the French? Oh, look.
Fair enough. I'm no quit. This is Ben Leo. It's Britain's newsroom.
Now,
throughout the election campaign,
really
we'll be hearing from people across the United Kingdom about what really matters to you.
Yes, and today, for the first time, we meet Matthew from Oldham. I'm Matthew Worley. I'm 46 years old.
That guy's got a moustache here, 12-year-old.
So one of the main issues...
Maybe as a 12-year-old and that's who GB News has to go to now.
I think the illegal boat crossings need to be dealt with quite urgently. It's just unbelievable the amount of people that are living in the country. I don't think the Tories know what they're doing, to be fair. I don't think they've got an answer.
You know what, this
the
subject's
Rwanda plan,
new.
they seem to be putting on
I don't know
hold
about yous, I've never
until
really
after the
heard
election.
about this
I don't know if
problem.
they're using that as a bit of a
before.
bribe for the electorate. So in the past I have voted for Labour and I have voted for Tory, so I'm
You too,
probably what
Barry,
you'd consider
have
a
a nice
floating
one,
voter.
man.
At this stage in the game, I don't feel I can trust Labour. I don't know who Keir Starmer is and what he stands for, to be fair. and the Tories have just let
GB News is Nigel Badge's Dangleberry.
Things that I like.
He has a show on it.
My vote would probably go for
Pretty
them.
sure
I've got quite a young family, 2 young
Jacob
daughters,
Rees-Mogg, the fucking
my wife,
demon
obviously,
headmaster,
and,
has a show on it.
I do worry about their future growing up in this country, especially with mass migration and the pressure on our services. It's basically a numbers game, and our services are failing, NHS, schooling, housing, that kind of thing. So I'm wondering what this country will look like in the next 10, 20, 30 years' time if nothing is done about it.
The people's voice, that's what they're
He's
thinking.
got a fucking moustache here, 12.
I think we'll cover this a little bit later because Russell Thomas, he's talking about the paratroopers. He says, why isn't GB News showing the commentary on the British paratroopers who had to show their passports to French authorities on the beach after they landed yesterday? If they did that 80 years ago, they'll be speaking German now. That's what Russell's saying.
They're just jobs first, weren't they?
They'll all be speaking German now, push.
But on to Prince William, who has arrived at Britain's most eligible bachelor, the 7th Duke of Westminster's wedding.
He's got a few quid, this lad, as well. Did you know? £10 billion. He's the richest Brit under 40. He inherited it
Mate,
from
you
his
must have
late
enough
father.
fucking
Good catch, well done, girl.
money for a fucking razor.
But while all the royals have been invited, Prince
Shave
Harry,
that 12-year-old
he won't be
moustache
there.
off,
It's
man.
on the
That is
sitter. It's,
embarrassing.
to avoid any awkward run-ins with Prince William, his brother.
Which is sad, really. Now, how about to just grow up and get over it? That's what you'd think. Let's bring in our royal correspondent, Cameron Walker. Cameron, good to see you.
Right,
so where
unicorn,
are you?
man.
Are you outside where the wedding's taking place?
I am, Nana, indeed. This is the west door of Chester Cathedral, where the society wedding of the year is taking place. The Duke of Westminster marrying Olivia Henson. In the last few minutes, the Prince of Wales has arrived through the side entrance to my left here. He is one of the ushers at this wedding. He's an incredibly close friend of Hugh Grosvenor, the Duke of Westminster. And Prince Harry's also a very close friend as well. But as you were saying, Ben, the Duke is the richest Brit under the age of 40. He inherited his £10 billion fortune when he was just 25 years old back in 2016 when his father, unfortunately, died suddenly of a heart attack. Olivia Henson, his bride-to-be, by the end of play today, will be the new Duchess of Westminster. She went to Marlborough College, the same school as the Princess of Wales and Princess Eugenie as well. There were rumours that Prince George was going to be here, who is the godson of the Duke of Westminster, but it's understood he's not going to be here because it is indeed a school day. Also, guess who the godfather of the Duke of Westminster is? His Majesty the King. However, he is also not going to be here. Of course, he's still undergoing cancer treatment, and it's been a busy week for him with the D-Day celebrations both in Portsmouth and Normandy. But you may be able to see the crowds have started to grow here, and there have been some people here since around 6
I don't know who they are,
this
but
morning, and I
apparently he's
spoke
rich.
to some of them a little earlier.
Wonderful
and
to be
he's
here,
best
isn't it?
pals
We've been
with
here
Willie.
since 7:30. It's just such a wonderful occasion for Chester. It'd be nice to see a lovely bride and groom, happy couple.
How long have
You
you
know,
been here
more
for?
power to those
Since
old
6
deals.
this
If they
morning.
get a buzz for that,
Have you heard
batter
that the
the
Duke's
fuck
giving
in.
out or
I
has
just
paid
think
for free
it's...
ice cream for the locals?
Absolutely, it's one of the reasons why we're here.
It's hard for me to understand
no, we came
it,
prepared. We've got a
but
picnic, we've got
I
everything.
realise
We've got
it
thick coats
exists,
on, and
and
we're good to
more
sit
power
here.
to them if they want to
They're
do that.
lovely. And
Yeah,
I
those
think they're
little
lovely people
black.
anyway. So because they're connected with the royals, we have to come out and support them.
We've been here since.
Oh
just
my
before
God.
7:30. Really looking forward to that, yeah. And I've heard
You
rumours as
sure
well that
you're
George
not the
might
Grand
come
National
along,
hen?
and that would be a bonus.
Yeah, that's bad.
Yes, Cameron, you alluded to it in that video there. The Duke of Westminster, he's got a penny or two. Free ice creams for the public to celebrate the big day.
Like, you know you're
One
getting
Shop,
old when you start
is
slagging
offering a
off
new
people for
lemon
being
sponge
too
flavoured
young.
Arctic
Not
roll.
even
That's
slagging
in a
them off,
nod
just like,
to
oh
their
my
wedding
God,
cake, which
look
is
how
lemon flavoured.
fucking
How many
young
ice
he
creams have
is,
you had
man.
this morning, Cameron?
You wouldn't need ice cream.
Oh, it's a little bit too cold for me, Ben, to have ice cream, but there's going to be lots of ice cream given out to the locals. 3 independent businesses have been subsidised by the Duke of Westminster, so he's effectively paying for all the ice cream so locals can join in the celebration. They have an incredibly close connection to the local community here.
Aye, if he's at
Chester
about
Cathedral,
tomorrow,
of course, very close to the family
Dominic,
seats, Eaton Hall, where the reception is
take
going
out
to be
the
held
channel
later
to
on.
see
The
if
flowers
Postman will
around
be
the
doing
door and
something
also
if
the
he's a bit-
flowers inside, they're all locally
I'm a
sourced
bit-
and they're all going to be donated
the
to local
universal
charities
lines.
following the service here today, which starts at midday.
Wow. Cameron, thank you very much. That's Cameron Walker. He's out there in Chester. Lovely, lucky thing. But I'm talking about Olivia. Lucky thing. How did she do that? Well done, Olivia.
I'll be happy with an ice cream.
Aye, well done, bagging a rich cunt.
10 million quid.
Fuck love.
He got that at 25 years old after the death of his late father. Let's speak to former royal correspondent
The
Michael Cole now,
suspicious
who's on
death.
standby. Good morning, Michael. So, while we're having some great celebrations in Chester with the Duke of Westminster's marriage, Prince William is there. Where's Prince Harry?
The question of the day. Good morning, Ben.
Right,
Good morning, Nana.
now,
Yes,
again,
a man who isn't...
every time you hear the right-wing press bashing Prince Harry, it's because he went after all these scumbags for the industrial scale phone hacking these scum fucks were doing, got caught doing, and no doubt still are doing. And my God, that guy's got a bad wig. Fuck's sake, whose head is that shape?
The country is the godfather of the firstborn children.
Maybe he was
of both
born in a
Prince Harry
virgin
and
birth.
Prince William. What's been
It's like
done?
a fucking
Prince
ice
Harry's
cream
been
cone
on
on
the
top,
phone,
man.
To Hugh Grosvenor, and they've both decided, all things being considered, that it might be better if the younger brother stays
Exactly,
away.
has
in
that
case,
in there. Well, I don't know if you know this. The British press have an agreement with the royal family. The British press corps have agreements, protocols, things that are expected of them, yada yada yada, with the royal family. That's why sometimes you'll get stuff in the American press, the foreign presses, the British press say the British press don't report on, because there's a kind of wee sort of the royal family have control of what the British press can and cannot report on about them. And if those protocols and wishes aren't adhered to, the outlets get punished by the institutions that the royal family and the royals and the institution of the crown itself have very much in. And let's not forget, like the estate of the crown, all its assets and stuff, is managed by the City of London.
Legally evade tax, or avoid, as it were, but it's legal. Right, up next,
Want to
there's
date
been an
rape
outbreak
that
in
guy
cases
and
are
shave his
expected to rise.
moustache off,
It's
man.
all
Do him
linked
a
to
favour.
a food
It'll
item.
grow back, maybe like a
I'm not
man's
happy with that.
moustache, mate.
And we'll discuss more. You're with Britain's Newsroom on GB's News.
That is ridiculous, dude. Why did they make
Good
up
morning.
and
Welcome
tell
to
him,
GB
like,
News weather
mate,
update
shave
from the
that
Met
off?
Office. It's another case of sunny spells and showers, especially in
Maybe
the
it's
north,
him trying
and
to look
also
old.
breezy, giving a cool feel. So to start this morning, we've got a band of rain across Northern Ireland, parts of South Scotland, moving its way south and
Mate, I don't think
eastwards.
she can
Behind
stand
that,
up. I don't think
another
that
day of
Nana can stand
blustery
herself.
showers
She doesn't look like
developing,
she's had a
but
day's
cloudier
sleep in
conditions
years.
into the afternoon across the south, with a few showers bubbling up, but most places here staying largely dry. It is still going to be on the breezy side, especially in this outbreaks of rain and in the north with the showers, but in any sunshine, perhaps up to 20, but much cooler in the north. So through this evening, we've still got some showers continuing, but across the south.
Oh no, I can't rewind.
Late evening sunny
Fuck
spells.
you. Right, hold
This
on,
is
what
where we've
time's
got
this?
focus
Friday,
for some
5
showers
bells.
through the afternoon.
Fuck,
Some
rain
dry
on and
weather
off,
across
man.
Northern Ireland and into northern England as well, but still a focus for some heavy showers. Some of these still could be quite thundery and even with the
we're
risk of
getting the
hail even
fucking
into this evening. So through the
edge
rest
of
of
that
the night,
weather
those showers are going to be
front, man.
continuing to move in on that
Yes.
brisk wind in the north. Some cloud generally across parts of north and
Whether you take the
western
bus
parts of the UK.
or
Some
bike.
clearer skies further at the south and east you go. And here it could turn quite chilly. We may even see a touch
The
of
bike will
grass frost,
guarantee you'll
but
stay a wee bit more
elsewhere
soberer.
still underneath clear spells dropping into the single figures. To start Saturday morning then, we've got a band of showery outbreaks of rain across northern parts of England and into Wales. That will gradually sink its way southward. And once again, a similar picture, driest across the south, where we'll see some sunshine, but blustery showers still continuing in the north. Some of the heavy with the odd rumble of thunder and a brisk wind, giving it that cool feel as well, but highs of 20 degrees.
I'm Patrick Christie's. Every weeknight from 9, I bring you 2 hours.
Right, have I still got this up. Let's see if it even works. Who the hell? Oh, who is this guy? Why does he ring a bell? Is that his name? That's what? What? Me? Let's get a really irritating cadence. Property, political commentator for TV and radio. Defamatory remarks. This was last year. And Friend to the Stars. Speaking exclusively. Right, so this is it here, new account. Because I spoke my mind, I thought Elon was all about freedom of speech. For fuck's sake, even Elon Musk kicked him off. I don't know what the fuck was it he said. Left-leaning media stories that you'd vox pops with landlords. Fuck. And is that? That's their live feed, just fucked up again.
Politicians do not tell you the truth. I know that's not the most amazing.
Either do you, pal. You work for Rupert Murdoch.
From our political masters.
And
the channel crossings.
He sits there and beats up. He sits there and beats up the BBC, although he went for the question time gig and didn't get it. I can't remember who he lost it to. I think it was that Paxman did way back in the day. Or was it Newsnight or Question Night? Or I think it was Newsnight or something. And he didn't get the gig. And then he rocks up on Talk TV and starts telling you the BBC's a devil incarnate. Has he got an alternative agendas or something else going on there?
On those issues,
like, he's actually got it. And
let us know your opinion on Max and what I think was his crass disrespect for D-Day veterans. Let me know on 0344 499
the right-wing press have got their claws out for Sunak.
The word talk. But look, moving...
And that's good for Nigel Farage. Surprise.
But first of all, I want to turn to this... This really sad story of Michael Mosley, the TV doctor. So Michael Mosley is a doctor that regularly appears on the likes of The One Show. And
it's no sadder than all the other missing people in the world.
Books about diet and sleep and so on, and went out for a walk on holiday in Greece on Wednesday in the afternoon and has not been seen since. Very odd, very troubling, very worrying. So we're going to be talking now to next guest on this, a Greek journalist, Iona.
Walking on hills.
Iona, thank you very much indeed for joining us.
I think it's kind of obvious what might
the last hour or two.
Good morning, Russell. With another helicopter set to join the research for the missing TV doctor Mosley on the Greek island of Symi.
They're going to try and turn this
as
into
well as
some
more
sort
men
of
who scour
what
the area. The investigation into the TV health expert's disappearance is moving up a gear this morning, while the police are saying that we've been seeing pictures of Symi on your screen. It's Symi is part of the Dodecanese. It's close to Rhodes in the Aegean, just to picture the Aegean. Has lovely
really
beaches.
More
Most of them are remote.
So let's see if there's anything on the Chiners. I could broadcast, probably not. And there's no DVR in this shit. Look at that. Russia welcomes. That was yesterday. US aircraft carriers still in our crosshairs. They'll be hit harder next time. The Houthi dudes. And the UK stuff is still over the election. This will be interesting. Deep fake. Labour's West Sterling among victims of deepfake smear network on X. A doctored video of Labour's West Sterling has been pushed to X users, making it seem as though he called fellow politician Abbott a silly woman. A network of X accounts has been creating and sharing such clips of politicians ahead of the general election, and then posting misleading comments alongside to boost the impression they are real. Oh my god! Well, that is it. Like that kind of stuff get done in and around to different ways with the Trump election, the first Trump election, when he got in, and it's because of the social engineers that work for the political parties doing this sort of a thing, using social medias, that the trooper movement has ended up being turning into a religious political cult. And that's what's happened, because there's people who have a dog in the fight, both religiously and politically, to use these social engineers, to use social media to get people think, oh, we're all cool in the gang, let me sign up for this religion, let me do this, let me do that. And of course you're the Illuminati if you point out the Trump support, Trump campaign. It was the first time I noticed it. And then I kind of noticed the aftershocks in the UK was Nigel Farage and UKIP. And I'm like hanging about in all these circles and shit, and I'm like, right, hold on, I wanted to find out if Bigfoot was real. Next thing I know, everybody's championing Nigel Farage and UKIP. How did that happen? Where did we blink? And then next thing you know, all the self-appointed leaders of the truth movement, or even whatever the fuck you want to call that shit, independent journalism here in the UK, they all joined UKIP. Sargonov, Mossad, Count Spunkula, Bobby Robinson was flirting with them but never went full booner, because the way these social engineers marketing companies operate is they understand we're all different demographics. Tommy Robinson was created for your lager drinking football thug, football casual, football supporting dude and crowd, and to groom them politically to vote a certain way. And very, very, very well done. See, like, can you imagine the Tommy Robinson crowd prior to the creation of the character? Because remember, Tommy Robinson, his name, it's the creation of a character, a creation of the character of Tommy Robinson out of the BNP. Without him, do you think those people would be voting? Do you think they would give a flying shit? Do you think they would have been mobilised, politically groomed, politically mobilised to go and vote for somebody? I don't think so. They'd have probably went to see the football, down the park, get a pint, yada yada yada. Now everybody's like, yes! Bring on Farage! I'm going to fucking vote. I've never voted in my life, but I'm going to vote for fucking Nigel Farage. So what? They've just been groomed a fucking peach. No, but he says, aye, That's the point. Hitler said good shit too. Tony Blair said good shit. Mussolini said good shit. People liked what they had to say. You know, it's no magic trick. Honestly, this country and the public as a whole are getting fucking bamboozled with this shit. Even your average Tom, Dick and Harry in the street. You go into a traditional old man's boozer, right? And all the old men are like that, having to say what they want to say. Fucking, fucking, can you tell if that was a guy or a fucking woman? You know what I mean? Like, we've all been self-policing. Fucking, anyway. There's very few sections of society out there that's been unaffected by this. I notice it as well. Like when I first got in touch with the Truth Movement, right, it was like Alex Jones, the left-right paradigm, Anonymous, Anarchy, politics haven't been trusted, they're all lying to us and all that shit. Next thing I know, Alex Jones is grooming every cunt for fucking Donald Trump. And over here we have our talking heads grooming people for fucking UKIP, Neil Hamilton, Nigel Farage. I'm sorry, man, these people, I cannot resonate with these people. Tommy Robinson, on the other hand, I can resonate with. It's almost as if he's been created to resonate with a demographic like me. Oh, see, that's where my tinfoil hat goes straight back on. And that's just where my head's at, man. As mental as it is. I know I'm as tuned to the moon now as I was when I first fucking was into UFOs and chemtrails. The only difference now is, well, I can see how the Truth Movement has been used to groom people politically. On all sides, look at all the fucking left retards out there, man. Hope not hate with their... Look at that stupid bitch with the fucking milkshake in Vagie's face. You know what I mean? Do you think without mobile phones and social media she would have done that? No fucking chance. You know what I mean? She had her hair done and her nails done and all that. It was looking fucking beautiful, man. Well, beautiful in the fake fucking... face like a fucking... face like Jordan kind of way, if you like into that kind of shit. Anywho, I digress. So, deep fake networks, blah blah blah, what a pile of shite. Of course this is happening. If you don't think this is happening, you're naive. It's like, did you see the... Like, all I need to do is look at the comments. That's why I started policing the comments, because what I noticed is it was getting used as a sounding board for the cult of Tommy Robinson. It was getting used as a sounding board. You know, it was like, right, okay, it's not that mega offensive, I'll leave it up. But it's just like getting used as a public, like a fucking notice board, innit? Because I'm a big bit dyslexic, so reading comments isn't my bag. I like to watch it. I read 3 comments and my head's fried. So, let's see about deep fakes.
Why am I tracking 24 phones for the general election? I'm getting an insight into how the election is unfolding on social media.
You dirty mayor! How many fucking guys are you pumping in? Anyway.
Yeah, because what you're seeing on your feeds
all
is
right, Luton, how you doing?
Lots of other people across the UK. That's because
hey, like I said to Danny Tomo, man, all's fair in love and war and all that, man. We can still get along.
Or show an interest in. So to find out what different people are seeing and how the algorithms work, I've set up my undercover voters. These are not real people. These are 24 fictional characters based on research, and they live in 8 different constituencies.
Look, and I like to think you've got a trench coat and one of those cool hats.
They have different
a spy hat and all that.
Across all of the main platforms, and I run them
a
on
monocle.
old phones. Don't worry, they don't deceive anyone. Their profiles are all private and they don't have any friends.
That would be sweet.
They can't give us a complete picture of what everybody is seeing, but they do give me an insight into what different people are being recommended and whether and how hate, disinformation and algorithms could affect this election.
Pete, how you doing? Oh. Right, we're just after the top of the hour.
It's a sad thing to say, to eliminate the threat of Hezbollah from the north. Hezbollah has escalated in the past month, especially May versus April is very clear, doubling the number of UAVs, aerial attacks, doubling the number of anti-tank missiles, both challenging the Iron Dome and having a lot of success against our people.
And I have to ask, how exactly would a full-scale war differ from
the
situation that is going on now between Hezbollah and Israel? What would be the major difference by actually saying this is a full-scale war?
Well, on Hezbollah's side, it would mean that all targets are open, whereas right now they're
remember, there's the leaders debate tonight, and Nigel Vadge will be on it, man. It's going to be immense.
Trying to hit mostly
Nigel Vadge, you could watch him all day long. Showshack's going to be there. He's going to get annihilated, and it's going to be Nigel Vadge with his zingers. And I want to kind of try and tune into some political commentators along the way to see if there's still a mechanism or a possibility that Nigel Vadge could run as the Conservative leader. Because remember, it's the party that's running, not Sunak. So I believe there would still be some sort of a mechanism open available. Otherwise, the Conservative Party's dead. Which brings me round to the poll. 19 votes. Will the Conservatives, as a party, survive this general election? Because the way I see the landscape unfold, and Vadge coming out that late, and Reform in some polls being 2 percentage points lower than the Conservatives. That's jaw-dropping for all the talking heads on television and whatnot.
And I think that will be US's part.
Vadge knows he's not going to get in this election. Or does he?
President Biden has
he's, it looks like he's positioning himself
does declare war against Hezbollah. So
to run in 5 years' time when Keir Starmer makes a shit show of the poison chalice.
Warning about.
Well, first and foremost, I think
so Vadge, even either the Conservatives disband after probably they were shown in over 100 years or whatever this general election, or they absorb Reform, you know,
every month, 300 attacks
revising it, you know, like Conservatives 2.0.
His concern is Iran going to join the war or not? Does Israel care? Yes, of course.
See the cookie crumbling.
US is our greatest
ally,
at
the moment,
we need to present our case,
80, just under 80%.
So President Biden
they don't think the Conservatives will survive this general election as a party.
Which clearly no one in
Israel I have to agree. If they're toxic, absolutely toxic. If you could take the apparatus of the Conservative Party, rebrand it, and relaunch it. Oh man, these two guys' voices are fucking horrible. If you could take the Conservative Party's apparatus, foundations, and just change the name and put Vadge on top, they're going to be less toxic in Scotland. Because the Conservatives are toxic up here, man. There's just people that are just tribal and will not vote Conservative no matter what. They literally could offer you like 10 free gold bars, and cunts up here, but no chance. Maggie Thatcher, fuck you. So that's a reality. Vadge's got the nationalistic ticket, which is up here, is in droves. The Scottish national thing's died a death thanks to wee Sturgeon with her fingers in the cookie jar. So, politically it's interesting times, and don't think that couldn't happen in the sense of a new political party emerging. I can still remember where it was Labour and Conservatives up here, and then thanks to Braveheart, the SNP managed to emerge as a viable party. And then get more pigs at the trough, build a big fancy building for the pigs at the trough, promise his independence, which never really happened, because it was going to be under fucking the European Union anyway. And now you've just got more pigs at the trough with very little power to do anything other than denote whether a guy's a guy or a woman's a woman. Pish. You know, that kind of cannon fodder, useless cannon fodder. So, what's this?
Still imminent, but just Hezbollah chose not to attack.
God, he's as unpleasant to the ear as a wee fucking North Korean shouty bastard.
We know it's possible, or do we?
I know it's possible. My voice is only 1 decibel, and it's a million decibels. Fuck me. Then you've got a computer screen. Hello.
Versus Hezbollah.
America TV's
I
fucked.
usually don't compare. Hezbollah is way higher in the hierarchy of proxies in the Middle East. If we draw imaginary...
I draw an imaginary bomb and go to the United Nations, you fucking idiot.
I say, like, you know, I cannot say it on the live TV what I really think, but thank you, USA, is the first thing, you know, thank you, NATO, from giving this help to us. That is the first thing, because there is no other way to see what's going on. This is a proxy war. Ukrainian soldiers, the terrorists.
Okay, so remember, tune in tonight. I think it's 7:30, so probably start it before then.
But now they are shooting not on Ukrainian
for the leaders' debate. It's not a leaders' debate. For the debate of the political party leaders.
I have to say that
Nigel Vag will be in attendance unless he is assassinated.
Yanis, the strike comes just days after Western leaders issued approvals for their missiles being used to strike Russian territory.
Where would you see Tommy fitting in?
His approval on
I can see Nigel becoming Prime Minister quite easy, man. In 5 years' time.
These types of actions
I can see that happening. Trump's nailed on for the American one, I think, by the looks of things.
Maybe,
and I think Tommy's, if that all happens, Tommy's going to be left in the background. Like Alex Jones was when Trump got elected. And what? Your man's in. Now what are you going to do? Well, and the word Tommy will get dropped.
Seems to have a free hand to do whatever they want, and I think
maybe.
that there are
Who knows?
people in the regime
maybe can just make some more documentaries.
Who are supporting them, who are saying,
listen
let's
to
use this
the Trump campaign for more memes and make
All
documentaries
right, we're going to
about
leave it
that.
there. Yanis Putkinen, journalist and chief editor of the Finnish outlet MV
Fucking
Lehti,
a bad
joining
man.
us from Lugansk, which has been hit today by several missile strikes from Ukraine.
English are not English, they're half-baked.
Well, Russian aerospace forces have carried out a successful operation against Ukrainian troops using Moscow's Su-34 fighter bomber.
Doberman, that's hilarious, mate.
The Russian Defense
That the
Ministry
French
reports that the strike
bombers to
targeted
Ukraine.
ammunition and manpower on Ukraine's eastern front. Russia's fighter bomber crew used high
No, it's the
explosive bombs to
Ruskies.
carry out the air raid before safely returning to base. Well, Kiev's losses total 1,500 over 24 hours, according to estimates from the Russian Defense Ministry, as the Ukrainian army suffers from an acute lack of manpower. Ukrainian media report the wounded men.
Luton, did you ever catch the? I think it was a live stream when we done a Tommy Robinson's cabinet. That was great fun. That was great fun.
Including Ukrainian former deputy health minister. Name has not been disclosed yet. Doctors from the Central Kiev Hospital and a number of other clinics.
Was she?
Organs were extracted
No, she
from
wasn't.
people
She
who
came
were
for
in a
the
helpless
Apprentice,
state,
didn't she?
with subsequent
So she
sale.
came for.
All participants of the criminal group have been reported on suspicion under
wondering
3
whether
articles
she
of
was
the
like
criminal
a
code. They face up
skilled
to 12 years
politician
of
for a second,
imprisonment.
but she's no.
In an exclusive interview with RT, Ukrainian journalist Tatiana Pop revealed
Oh
that
yes,
Kiev
who's
officials
stealing
have been
body parts
covertly
now,
turning
man?
the country's medical industry into a black market source.
The Rada adopted laws that made it possible not to ask a living donor if he wanted to donate his
Oh,
organs
is she
after
talking?
death.
Who's she?
But you do understand that if you don't have to ask during your lifetime, Then even more so after death, you don't have to ask. So when I learned that a criminal group, led by a former high official of the Ministry of Health, Deputy
Come on,
Minister,
she's
had been
a
exposed to
secret
Ukraine,
sexy
it
spy.
did not surprise me at all.
I know it.
The fact that surprises me is that this has become news. At the moment, conditions have been created in the country where citizens can be sold like cattle. In fact, these are the same military commissars who are released or sent for meat for a bribe. It sounds cynical.
I'm swear to God, I've just been absolutely hypnotised with her. I've even not even paid attention to the story. So, talking about kidnapping people and selling them. Is that not the same footage they used to say they were rounding up people to conscript?
What can I say about the former
Tanya
Minister of Health
Pop.
of Ukraine,
Oh, she is
Ulyana
popping.
Supran, the so-called Black Doctor? I was living in Ukraine at the time, and I remember that we didn't call
Now
her
she
the
stays
Black
in
Doctor,
Russia.
but Dr. Death, or the woman with the Sith. This woman comes from the diaspora, and did not even live in Ukraine before Maidan. She and her husband are among the so-called professional activists.
It was funny
These
and
are
fun looking, you know.
She was appointed minister in 2016, after the Ukrainian healthcare system had already begun to be destroyed by the first government.
Yeah, you would get a wee bit more for that, for mines nowadays, man. I don't I'm pretty sure I've got rid of all the black tar shit from my lungs now, man. It'll be 4 years in September.
Of course, in reality,
Nicotine, tobacco-free motherfuckers. I notice the difference when I'm fucking...
And save the
That's
state
8 miles it is to the... 8 miles round trip.
Exactly what she went down in history.
8 plus
Returning
miles
to
a day when I'm going to the gym, and
one of the results of her board,
I can date it, like, lung-wise, can date a canter. It's my fucking leg muscles that need to catch up a wee bit, man. I done it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Couldn't do it yesterday, man. I was waiting. My legs were like that when I woke up. I was like, I better fucking have a day off.
The organs were sent
weather
abroad
dependent.
at a very low price by European
Might do it today.
standards. This is open data. Quite a lot of investigative journalism was published back then, and these cases, of course, were not allowed in Ukraine. Who is covering up the illegitimate Ukrainian government for illegal organ trafficking? I would
The
slightly
West.
separate the activists of the current Kiev regime and the fact that any international, including criminal structures, operate absolutely freely on the territory of the so-called current Ukraine. The Ukrainian authorities,
Right, so what she's saying
they're
is,
penny, of course,
criminals operate in Ukraine,
and
like
drug
everywhere else.
trafficking and arms sales and, of course, organ
Well, this is
sales.
live.
From this, they also get a good kickback. But they are most likely, in my opinion, not the organizers. They, if I may say so, lease the territory to everyone. And regarding patronage, the West is patronizing Ukraine as a political project. Therefore, it is not profitable for him to admit that this is happening in a democratic
Doberman, I
and
don't know if you'll be
European
aware of this little
Therefore,
factoid.
it's
I
not
like to say it.
profitable for him to
Now,
admit that this is
Celtic
happening
fans
in a democratic
typically
and
call
European country.
us Rangers fans
and all
Huns.
criminal schemes allegedly slip out of sight
German
to
Nazi
the patrons
Huns kind of
of
idea.
official Kiev, solely for
But
political
during
reasons.
World War II,
As soon as the government,
it was
which came
the
in the wake
Fenians
of
that were
the
called the
coup,
Huns
unleashed the
because they
conflict
were
on Donbass
fueling
in the summer
and
of 2014,
fueling the Nazi
when the hottest battles were
U-boats
taking place in the east
in
of
the
Ukraine
Atlantic.
at that time. There were rumors about
because they
some
were
people
officially a
who
neutral
seized
country,
organs from the
which
civilian
meant they're like
population of Donbass and territories occupied in the
with the Nazis.
USSR, and from the militants themselves wounded or killed
How
in the
quickly
conflict.
things
And a little
change.
later, the Donbass authorities reported that they had to find the burial of people who did
Not
not
probably
have enough
slave
organs.
market. I mean,
But
horse
then,
fear
during this
is on
Minsk
at the moment.
period, this was never given any publicity. Though SCE, UN, the Red Cross missions, which have been working in the region for all these 8 years, in fact hid what was happening there.
Is it a race,
They did not
Pop
cover
Pete?
the shelling, tried
That
in
may have
every
a bet on
possible
it.
way to hush up Ukraine's actions in its territory. And this topic, which even surfaced several times in the Ukrainian media space, was also safely hushed up. Of course, not without the help of international structures.
The D-Day commemoration ceremony in French Normandy saw troubling images from the past brought back to life. With many Western top officials attending the event, Vladimir Zelensky...
Is there anywhere you can go in the news without them fucking...
a veteran to the anniversary celebration.
Showing you constant disturbing images.
Similar to Zelensky's last trip to Canadian Parliament.
I'm going to bring back John Craven's news round.
The same two leaders burst into applause honoring a World War II Nazi fighter, Yaroslav Hunka. The Galician SS battalion fighter received 2 standing ovations from the Canadian House of Commons. The ensuing scandal saw the lower parliament speaker resign. Zelensky, however, has never shied away from his own
Looks like a wee troll, that cunt, doesn't he?
Nazism.
Off battalion that is said to be Nazi-affiliated organization operating as a militia in your country, said to be committing their own atrocities.
Azov was one of those many battalions. They are what they are.
We discussed Vladimir Zelensky's invite with Russian Senator Konstantin Kosachev. He says Zelensky's presence at the D-Day commemoration in France is unacceptable, considering Kiev's glorification of the nationals who fought alongside Nazi Germany.
Russia has inherited the victory of the Soviet Union in the
Hashtag have a nice weekend, my man. If you're about tonight, check out the debate. That should be funny. Nigel Farage is always worth a good watch, man.
In the world, and specifically more than Ukraine.
And put your winter coat on, depending where you are. I can't remember what neck of the woods you're in. Hashtag.
Their nationals who were fighting
Dublin was lit up like a Christmas tree to guide the German bombers.
And some of very
I'd heard that before, Luton, but I'd forgot it. Cheers, man.
Ukraine is not to be defeated because we continued to fight the Soviet Union until the year of 19...
Here, have you seen some of the mobilities? Do you know what I seen the other day, right? I actually tried to film it. I think I might have caught a ball area on film. I think it's on a TikTok or some shit. Now, granted, it's up pure hips. It's like an emerging hipster's paradise, right? So you have a good blend of like fucking the old, and this is an old scumbaggy bit of Glasgow. The old, the students, and the new fucking young hipsters, man. It's a funny mix. Anywho, do you know those electric scooters that everybody's scooting about on? I seen one of them the other day, and somebody, or it was part of the design or whatever, had put a seat on it. So it wasn't a mobility scooter, it was one of those electric scooters with a fucking seat. So you can sit down on a wee mobile on one of those scooters bouncing down the road. Fucking immense, man. What the fuck's the world going to give to us next?
Says the attack came without any warning.
Another attack on Andras pool in the middle areas.
Right, so I think we've pretty much touched on it. Sunak's a prick for leaving early. There's going to be a debate tonight. I think Sudan, they're still killing each other. South China Sea shit's still going on. Ukraine's still the quagmire that it is. Gaza, 30 died last night. Hot a school. They didn't warn us, they did warn us, we were hitting Hamas, they were killing children, they were hitting Hamas, they were hitting children. Same old. But I'll end the poll. Don't think there's been any further votes, so get your last vote in. I'll give 30 seconds if anybody wants to vote before we go. Stick a wee thumbs up, share it with your friends, family, foes. Again, even if you have a giggle and enjoy what I do, I'm not asking anybody to agree with my madness. Sack that. Right, so will the Conservatives as a party survive this general election? 19 votes and 79% say no. I'm kind of in agreement, but I'll caveat it in the sense that I could see the Conservative Party doing so bad that they absorb reform, or they do so bad they dissolve and just take on reform. But I don't see the Conservative Party absorbing reform in the sense the brand of the Conservative Party is more toxic than Reform's is. Like Reform would get more traction up here in Scotland. I don't know if that would be the same script in Wales. I'd imagine so, because what was it? Wales hardware manufacturer caused all their coal mines. So I'm pretty sure, on general terms, the nation of Wales has quite a disdain for the Conservatives left over from the Maggie Thatcher aftertaste. And if all that script, if that's still the case, then maybe Reform, rather than a new branded Conservatives, would get more traction in Wales, thus making it more feasible for the Conservative apparatus to shift over to Reform rather than the other way around, if you get me. You know, because it's all about branding, and it'll still be the same. I'm going to argue after this election, either the Conservative Party or Reform or whatever will remain, will be kind of the leftovers of the people in the Conservative Party that were on the right side of the Conservative Party, like your Jacob Rees-Moggs, etc., etc., etc. Hashtag mobility scooter at the ready. It's our right, born again. How Masonic is that? R.I.P. Doc Mosley. That's that dude that's lost in Greece, isn't it, my man? Hopefully he turns up, but it doesn't sound likely, doesn't it? No. Seems like he's went out for a walk and fell down a cliff, unfortunately, man. Is that how I'm talking about it there? No, that's Gaza. We had pooing cards. What happened? What changed? Polling cards. Right. Probably, you probably were right the first time. DJ, Peter, Doberman, Luton. Luton, I do love you. Hashtag Pete. Everybody else that I might have missed it. Unicorn as well, my man. Jesus, Unicorn knew me before fucking my conspiratardom days, man. And that was a long time ago. Unicorn seen me when I had no hair. Fucking went to town and whipped everything off. But it was Barry. But that was probably part of Noon's Flower was in earlier as well. That was probably part of a breakdown. But hey, we all live and go mad at some point. So thank you everybody. Have a nice weekend. Hopefully catch you tonight about 7:25. And I might take a break for Coronation Street. Alright, YouTube, say thumbs up, all that jazz. Thank you very much. Have a nice one. Get cheese. No cats or cheese. Clips. And remember, citizens, always subscribe. Hit the notification bell as well. And $19.95 plus shipping and handling will keep you out of hell.